I know this isn't my usual setup, but don't panic. This is not a cause for alarm. I'm actually here by choice. What you're looking at is hours of hard work. For about a year and a half now, I've been teasing on stream that I'm finally going to get the motivation to set up my streaming room and make it look really fucking cool, like a beautiful gamer's wet dream. And take a look. Did I lie, huh? I went from one empty room to another. It's like Squidward when he goes to that place to be all alone. So yeah, I just haven't felt like finishing this room today, but I will pretty soon. Maybe in another year and a half, we'll see. But we're here now and I want to talk about something pretty important, and it actually has to deal with something that I was personally involved with. It has to do with Artesian Builds. That's the company that built all of the PCs that I've used and have at the warehouse for my friends to use for all of the editing and all of the content production we do. I'm sure by now you've all seen the clips as well as read the headlines. Artesian Builds really fucked themselves in the ass. They put their own dick in their butt, and now, as of today, they're pretty much no longer a company. They're officially dead and buried. But how did we get here? What happened? Artesian Builds would always be streaming their latest builds, where they'd interact with their community as well as do giveaways and shit like that. And a little over a week ago, their CEO went on stream during a giveaway, and when the giveaway winner was announced, he checked their profile and deemed them too small to actually earn the PC. I'm not going to play the clips, they're very hard to sit through, but their CEO was just going on and on about them being super small and not really benefiting the company, and then insinuating that their community isn't supportive or all kinds of just horrible shit. It was like a full-blown supervillain monologue, and not only is it extremely embarrassing and just downright fucking disgusting, but it's also borderline illegal. You can't just not honor a giveaway for no reason. You know, I can't run a giveaway and be like, hey, I'm giving away a water bottle of my spit or a jar of my farts, and then I announce the winner. I'm like, actually, this guy's kind of weird. He's a little stinky. I'm not going to give it to him. You can't do that. It's just fucking bad. And that's exactly what he did. He did it in a super condescending and aggressive tone. It really felt like he was personally insulted that the winner of the giveaway wasn't as large as he would have liked. So he was like really mean and nasty about it. He came across like spiteful, and he was delivering all of this as if he was in like the theater club doing some kind of show. It's like in the thespian troupe, he was given an assignment to act as a comically evil CEO, and he aced it. Because after doing this, he sank the whole company. They speed ran bankruptcy here. The company is, like I said, pretty much officially gone now. Around 50 or so employees have lost their jobs. And it all stemmed from this. This wasn't just like a combination of things. This was solely the CEO making a fucking fool out of himself and his company on this live stream during this giveaway. And then, of course, after this came out, a few other things were revealed, like apparently the way they were doing taxes may not have been up to code. I don't know a whole lot about that. That's alleged, but it is alleged that their business license or whatever was revoked and assets were frozen and shit like that. I'm not too sure there, but you can trace all of it back to this live stream, this fucking blunder here. They got scholars mated by their own CEO. They speed ran dead company all because of this one live stream fail. It honestly would have been less detrimental to the company if Noah, the CEO, had just gone on stream and goatsied himself, just full-blown spread his asshole at the camera like, hey, PC fans, you wanted a new PC build? Well, how about a look at my colon instead? And then just spread his cheeks apart. The company might even still be around in that case. Artesian Builds was a company that grew off of partnering with creators as well as just creating a community around their personalities. Like, they streamed every build, they streamed pretty much every day, and they signed with pretty much every streamer on the fucking planet. They worked with the big boys like OTK, Mr. Beast, Nick Merckx, and everyone like that, and they had built a level of trust and a community around them. So when Noah does something like this, it completely breaches that. No creators want to associate with them anymore. So when the creators left, the consumers left, and Artesian Builds was left with their dick in their hand. They had nothing they could do anymore. It genuinely destroyed the whole company. Like I mentioned, I was partnered with Artesian Builds. I signed with them like over 2 years ago or somewhere in that ballpark. When I was like first with them, they had like 10K followers on Twitter and like 40 viewers per stream on Twitch. And they reached out to me, and they just struck me as such professional and nice people. They were super sweet, and they obviously knew what they were doing because their builds slapped. I never had an issue with any of their builds or anything, and everyone I talked to, I didn't get any bad vibes from. And I even talked to Noah a couple times, and I never once got the impression that he was like this, like what you saw on stream. So when this happened, I was equally as shocked and upset as everyone else. But I think it's important that people realize that there was like 50 or so employees at Artesian Builds. It wasn't just like the Noah show. So when he sank the company, 50 or so people lost their fucking jobs. And some of them, it was their passion. Like, they loved it. There's one guy at Artesian Builds in particular that I'm not going to mention any names, but he was actually the one who came up with the giveaways in the first place. And the whole idea behind it is he just wanted to give high-end PCs to people that might not have been able to afford them and just give it to anyone of any size. That was the whole idea behind the giveaways in the first place. The CEO, Noah, didn't actually create the giveaways. It was this guy who came up with the whole idea just to like give shit away and like have a fun community that can just win PCs. And what happened is Noah took that and went fucking wild and wacky, full-blown insano style madman. He went off book, going rogue, and had this meltdown about it, which ruined everything. But again, it's important people realize there was a lot more people at Artesian Builds than just Noah. Noah ruined it for a lot of people who now don't have a job. And it only took a week. So it's not like a lot of those people have a backup plan either. So I really find the whole situation to be extremely sad. There's no excuse for what the CEO did, and especially with what he did after this happened. When this initially broke, he went to Twitter on the Artesian Builds Twitter account, and there were statements made that were just so tasteless. Basically, instead of apologizing when this got pointed out to them, they had like a 4-tweet long thing that I'm not going to show here, but basically what it boiled down to them was saying, what it boiled down to was them saying, oh, we were doing one of our normal dope-ass epic PC giveaways on stream, and things got a little weird, and I'm sorry you guys made yourselves mad about it, but just remember, we're doing some fucking incredible PC giveaways on our Twitch stream all the time, so we're fucking awesome. You guys made yourselves mad, and we're sorry for that. But yeah, back to epic giveaways. It was a non-apology, and they were just patting themselves on the ass for nothing. Like, it was so terribly handled. So, not only was the initial clip horrible, but the immediate response was as bad as it could have possibly been. Then they released another statement, like on an official document, or what was supposed to be an official document, but again, this seems like it came just directly from the CEO trying to not look as bad as he was looking currently. And again, missed the point entirely. It was more non-apology, and they still never even honored the giveaway. They still never even like tried to like publicly say, we will just give the winner the PC. They just kept trying to like push that to the side, like, there's so many rules, so much red tape, oh my god, so much was going wrong. The quantum physics of the Artesian Build formula for giveaways, there's so many numbers weren't adding up, the calculations were wrong. So that didn't go over well. And then Noah made an apology video, which was even worse than the other two. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I bet if they did another one, it would have devolved into just full-blown Scatman. Like, it wouldn't even be on the same topic anymore. The apology video he released, again, I'm not going to show any clips from, but it was as generic as it gets. Terrible audio mixing. It sounded like actual garbage. Sounded like he was talking to you through a walkie-talkie. And he just seemed so mad. Like, just so genuinely mad that all of this became an issue. Like, failing to recognize the actual meat of the problem. And what made it even sillier is he let out a giant sigh, like a big sigh, and went, going forward, anyone of any size can win a giveaway. Like, he was just so fucking mad that now anyone of any size can win a giveaway. Even though in the past, anyone of any size could win the giveaway. That was the whole point of the fucking giveaway, is that anyone can win it. But now that this became an issue, he's like, fine, anyone can win one, I guess. And then, like, kicks like dirt or something. Like, he just seemed so fucking upset. And the worst thing was, like, now he has to say that anyone can win a PC. It's like, again, I'm getting a little lost. It couldn't have been handled worse. The initial situation here was horrible on stream, no excuse for it whatsoever, and then the way it was handled afterwards could genuinely not have been worse. It was an absolute carnival of disaster. Just an overall really sad situation for so many people that were employed by Artesian or worked with them. I just wanted to talk about it because I was personally invested in this, obviously. And it just sucked to see it unfold like this. And it's something that I feel needs to be talked about. It's also like the only instance I can think of a multi-million-dollar company actually closing its doors because of a single horrible decision made on a live stream. just an overall wild week for artesian builds, and yeah, just wanted to talk about everything there. That's about it. So yeah. Whenever I see a massive company start to show signs of failure and going down the path of collapse, I'm often reminded of the late great Blockbuster, God rest its soul, the pioneer who really did it first, a company deemed too big to fail, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And since then, there's been a couple other companies that have gone down a similar path, and right now there is a new one pulling a Blockbuster, Niji-Sanji. Whether or not you're a huge VTuber fan, you're at least familiar with the industry. VTubing is huge, and it has been for years now. It's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions. And in this space, there are two agencies that stand atop the others as kind of the titans of the space. It's Hololive and Niji-Sanji. Now, Niji-Sanji has an English branch that right now is going through one of the most foul displays of mismanagement, cruelty, and just downright terrible business practice I've seen in quite some time. It's a real head scratcher because every single day they continue to dig themselves a deeper and deeper hole. It's like this company is run by a Voltorb that is obsessed with using the move self-destruct. It is just bent on burying itself. So I definitely wanted to talk about it now that I'm fully caught up on the situation. There is so much to go over. There's a really good video that breaks down like the main timeline here for what happened. It comes from Mugen. I'll go ahead and play the main catalyst for this, and then I'm going to actually turn to a series of Reddit comments that were left that I think go over the entire history of the Niji-Sanji problems that have come to light, and then fast forward to what just happened last night, where an even bigger controversy just unfolded. So there really is a lot to cover, and all of it's looking terrible for Niji-Sanji, the English branch, that is. Now, when I first was made aware of this on stream a little while ago, I said that I'm not even surprised by it because a lot of these VTuber agencies have a history of some very terrible things going on behind the scenes. Many of you know I started my own agency for YouTubers and streamers a while back called Human Media Group. We recently merged with Jimmy Here's group and became Mana Talent Group. And over the years, I've actually seen a couple of these VTuber contracts that they were formerly under. And it is downright evil what some of them were doing to the talent that they manage. I obviously can't get into the specifics of it, but it is some horrible stuff, that some really bad stories and bad things that we saw from that. But even being familiar with some of the horror stories that we'd learned over the years from some agencies, I was shocked to see just how bad Niji-Sanji was here. So I want to focus more on the most recent stuff that just happened, but I still would like to give you a foundation for what started all of it. So for that, I'll turn to this clip from Mugen's video that breaks down this whole situation and just give you the catalyst. This was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, fundamentally, that kicked off this world war against Niji-Sanji, all of which they brought upon themselves by being just complete, unreasonable, evil assholes.
It all started on Christmas Day, a day you're meant to enjoy with family. It couldn't have gone worse. The trigger for this entire catastrophe? A music video. Selen had worked on a music video for her fans. She paid $15,000 out of her own pocket because Niji-Sanji wouldn't fund it. And on top of not funding it, what did? They take down the video in under 24 hours. No explanation to the public. Remember what I said about corporations and how they have access to all social media of their VTubers? Yeah, that's what happened, and she couldn't do anything about it. All she could realistically do under the very tight contracts and NDAs of a corporation is make up a vague tweet, sort of explaining what's going on to her fans.
Selen was a VTuber that was very popular and was with Niji-Sanji's English branch. And she had a history of being super involved in her community. She called them Dragoons. And she wanted to do a special music video for the community and paid $15,000 out of her own pocket to make it happen for the fans. And she posted it, thinking that it was totally okay to do because she self-funded it when Niji-Sanji declined to, but they made a big stink about it and took the video down, even though she had permission for the song that was used and even though it came from her own piggy bank instead of theirs. They didn't like that it didn't get the proper approval through the internal management. Because the way Niji-Sanji runs their company, it's with a fucking iron fist. You need permission to fart on stream as a VTuber under that agency. And since she didn't get all of the proper channels to sign off on it, they took it down. which of course was a huge hit to Selin and her community because they worked very hard on that project. So she made a vague statement explaining that, well, management took it down, but she actually encouraged her community to re-upload it across the platform because she wanted it to live on. And she assumed that would be okay because, it's not on her channel anymore, so they shouldn't have a problem with it. But they did. This soured relations between Selin and Niji Sanji, and behind the scenes it led to a lot of harassment and bullying from Niji Sanji against Selin.
Because out of nowhere, on December 27th, she tweets on her account, "I apologize for the silence. I've been in the hospital after an accident and will be staying there for a few days to be under supervision. I just got back access to my phone yesterday." Now, of course, people were happy she was out of the hospital, but the concern was still there. It was very vague and people didn't know what was going on. The Selin Tatsuki termination notice. "I will not be silenced anymore. On December, I was hospitalized for an attempt that was caused by a buildup of bullying from within and being in a toxic and poor environment for numerous months that led to my breaking point. I requested to leave first, but on more neutral terms on the 26th of January.
Obviously, I chopped this up and Frankenstein together this little segment to give you a very concise timeline. So, Selin made a post about how she's going to need to take some time away after an accident that landed her in the hospital. Everything was very vague. Eventually, she explains that she's been discharged from the hospital, and then shortly thereafter, Niji Sanji English branch announced the termination of Selin Tatsuki. The termination letter is very poorly explained as to why she's exactly being fired. Now, when it comes to VTubers, there's two ways that departing a company goes. One is a graduation stream, where they graduate from the company and it means that they are leaving on good terms. So they have like a big send-off farewell stream and that's the end of it. Sail off into the sunset, sunshine and rainbows, it's a happy ending. You get the good ending. Or there's this, where you just get publicly terminated and just fucking slapped down by the company like this. And in this case, obviously, Selin got the latter, where they just said, she's gone. Now, if you're not familiar with VTubing, when you sign with an agency like Niji Sanji, they basically own you. They give you your VTuber avatar, they own all of your socials, your channels, everything. You are unable to operate with any type of autonomy. You are under their thumb, and they basically own all of it. So she lost access to everything here, and she actually didn't even know she was being terminated. She found out when this tweet dropped. They didn't even notify her. And the tweet, again, is very poorly explaining things. They talk about Selin like it's a fucking IKEA furniture tutorial on how to put it together. It's just like talking about a bunch of nonsense about authorization flows not making sense and whatever. And then they cite like the music video and how when she made the tweet that management took it down, it damaged their brand and caused problems for them, this and that. It was just fucking stupid, a bunch of dirty barnacles. And then Selin went to her original account, her original brand of Doki Bird, to explain what actually happened, is that due to the harassment and bullying and the toxic environment Niji Sanji created, she made an attempt on her own life and landed in the hospital. Luckily, she survived and is still with us today, but she no longer would be silenced by this company and bullied into being silent, so she started to explain what happened behind the scenes that led to all of this stress and all of these problems. She lawyered up and is engaged in now a legal battle with Niji Sanji, presumably, that is being worked on. And that is where all of this really started. That's when the floodgates opened. And with all of this information out there now, people were able to go back to some previous Niji Sanji talent with a finer tooth comb and see that the signs of a sinking ship had been there for quite a while. Signs of a company that mistreats its employees, signs of a company that is mismanaged and just downright diabolical behind closed doors. And I want to go over that, because we have a lore master in the comments section of a Livestream fails clip that I think does an extraordinary job of just laying all of this information out. So our guide is Weebshitter69. A great name for a great philosopher. So Weebshitter starts by explaining what Niji Sanji is and how big Niji Sanji is, and then takes us back to the past. March 10th, 2023, one of Niji Sanji's newer talents, Zion Lanza, was terminated, which again is being fired, publicly, and then put out this bullet point list of the infractions that they accrued. And at the time, people sided with Niji Sanji, but then stated that the way they handled it was a little unprofessional, especially coming from a multi-million-dollar company, and just overall not great. But since Zion no longer had access to their accounts, she returned to her original account that she had before joining, which was Sayu Synchronicity. Now, if you've followed this story for a while, you've probably seen this meme tossed around about Sayu was right, or Sayu tried to warn us, and this is what they're referring to. On that account, she revealed more information about her own experiences inside the company, hinting at a toxic environment, incompetent management and bullying, stealth suspensions, etc., and she further stated that she hopes other talent realize their own worth and that they deserve better. Some people sided with Sayu, but most didn't at the time. Then in May of 2023, Selin Tatsuki hosts a contest letting her fans design her next outfit. Niji Sanji management tried to put a stop to the very act of compensating the artists for their designs, while also trying to assert that artists who enter the contest should hand over the rights to the artwork for free. Selin refuses this notion and pays the winners out of her own pocket instead. She, a while after that, hinted that management no longer allowed her to organize events anymore, which sounds about par for the course for a company like Niji Sanji, where July 8th of 2023, Nina Kosaka graduated, meaning they left on good terms, had a farewell stream, but then comes back later with V Shoujo, which is another VTuber agency, as Matara Khan. That information will be pertinent later. August 27th of 2023, Mista Rias also graduates, saying that he was burnt out and no longer had any drive, and reappeared shortly after as K9 Kudo as the first male VTuber in V Shoujo. Again, information that'll be important here soon. Once they settled in, statements from both of them saying how surprised they were that management in V Shoujo were actually helping them achieve their creative aspirations started to come out, and how they finally feel like they have worth after being repeatedly told by some that they did not, strongly echoing Sayu's previous statements, even revealing that they did not receive the YouTube plaques on their own channels during their time in Niji Sanji, but rather that the company kept them. So, Niji Sanji kept the plaques from the YouTube channels, meaning the 100,000 subscriber play button or the gold play button for 1 million. The talent didn't even see that, which is just such a scummy thing to do, obviously. Now, while Sayu was a relatively new member of Niji Sanji at the time, Nina and Mista were considered cornerstone, thus the tides started to slowly turn. And then they jump a bit forward in the timeline, and that's when they fast forward to the Selin Christmas catastrophe with the music video that got taken down by management. And then in January, with the departure of Pomu Rainpuff, more people started to wonder how bad things were at Niji Sanji. Pomu Rainpuff was one of their biggest VTubers and shocked everyone when they announced their graduation in January. And it was even more shocking when people didn't hear from Selin since they were friends. So that's when people started to worry about her safety. And then in February, another liver named Kyo Kaneko announced the graduation, which again brought the community into an uproar, wondering, why is there so many people departing all at once here? Is there like a waiting list, like this fucking purgatory or something with people waiting to go to the other side? And then on February 5th, Niji Sanji released that termination notice. And that's when Doki Bird talked about what actually happened with her hospitalization following her unalive attempt that was built up from the stress that Niji Sanji put upon her. And a lot of information started to come out, both from artists and other people who had previously worked with them, claiming that working with Niji Sanji was never very good. There was delay in payments, NDAs being sent multiple times with the wrong name, just so many different things. But Selin had always paid the artists out of her own pocket during this period of turmoil while trying to work with Niji Sanji. And following all of this new information coming to light, the public was understandably outraged, because this is just some deplorable garbage. The dam broke and they were flooded with tons and tons of angry fans. The tornado blew through and picked up 500 septic tanks, and the shitstorm that came with it was something that Niji Sanji couldn't have possibly predicted. So Niji Sanji's stakeholders started to suffer. They lost several sponsorships because of all of this. Apparently their stock price, like their valuation or whatever, started to plummet as well. It was a huge hit to their company, and it only continues to get worse by the day. So Selin revealed that she had spent like $250,000 of her own money on projects throughout the last year there, so she made no profit. And a very interesting piece of information that people brought up is that in December of 2022, Mista Rios had a slip of the tongue revealing that talent only gets 1% of merch sales, and other reports stating that it was a whole 2%. And this serves to showcase that Niji Sanji doesn't just harass and bully their talent directly, they also financially fuck them. That is downright criminal. Only giving 1 or 2%, if they're feeling gracious enough, of merch sales to the talent is mind-boggling. And I saw a couple people defending this, and let me just go ahead and take you in real quick, because it looks like you blew in from Stupidville. That is unacceptable. Yes, the VTubers here don't actually own their avatar or anything. That does belong to Niji Sanji, and they signed the contract and agreed to that. But without them, that merch doesn't move. They are still the sole force for why that merch sells in the first place, thus should be compensated fairly. If they don't make that tweet about the merch being available, if they don't talk about it on stream, 0 people buy it. And to only give them a 1 or at most 2% cut of that is just laughably pathetic and it's just depraved, really. And this also led to a meme that you've probably seen if you've been keeping up with it, about how Niji Sanji's CEO was too busy on his yacht that he built on the back of his talent through exploiting them financially. It comes from this information, where apparently the CEO had flexed that he had a yacht that he had recently purchased or something. I didn't look into that too deeply, but I keep seeing that pop up everywhere with people citing different sources for it. I believe that that's probably something that happened because they are legitimately just exploiting their talent here. This is a completely unacceptable split. Under no circumstances should this be allowed. That is crazy. And what's even crazier is I know they're not the only ones that do that to their talent. In the VTuber space, I have seen some very unfair deals. Now, not this bad. I will say this is exceptionally horrible. But I wasn't surprised to learn that when I first saw that they take 98% of merch sales, because these VTuber agencies look for every possible way, at least the contracts I've seen from some of them, to squeeze every dime possible out of that talent while not letting them get the lion's share most of the time. I'm having to tiptoe around this a little bit because I don't want to get in any hot water with it. But yeah, it fucking sucks. That is awful. Now back to the Weeb Shitter archives here. Weeb Shitter then talks about what happened last night, which is what I want to talk about as well. So, the clip that he is referring to is Doki Bird was streaming. She has now come back to streaming, trying to, just have a good time with her community again, and things are going extremely well. She went from 10,000 subs to now over 500,000 subscribers. Her first stream back had over 100k concurrent. Absolutely fucking crushing it. And last night during her stream, which was her first gaming stream since being back, she had to end it early because fellow livers Alira Pandora, who'd been quiet since the announcement of Selin's termination, started a stream at the same time called A Message from Niji Sanji. And during the stream, she was joined by other Niji Sanji VTubers, Ike Eveland and Vox Akuma. Both of them were thought to be friends of Selin, or Doki Bird, and they read a totally not scripted message expressing how sad and betrayed they felt that Selin had given out personal information like real names and other required information about livers in her legal document that she sent over to Niji Sanji, and some of them stating that they had thoroughly read through it, as well as presenting Discord snippets between Selin and management, when it was presented by them thinking that it would absolve them. Now, I truly believe that Niji Sanji forced them to make this video. I think that they were 100% pressured into making this statement. I don't think the VTubers chose this, nor do I think they really believe what they were saying, because you'd have to be on some goddamn idiot juice to think that that was a good idea. Obviously, this is just inviting everyone in the community to throw tomatoes at you and scream, "Boo, boo, you stink." Like, it is a terrible statement from them, and the obvious big problem here, one that Doki Bird also had to call attention to, is that it seems Niji Sanji seemingly shared confidential information with these parties that are unrelated to the issues, which could potentially include her medical information. which is fucking illegal. You can't do that. You can't just share this personal information. You can't break NDAs, and you certainly can't share sensitive medical information. There's protections in place for that. That's a highly illegal thing to do. Meanwhile, goofballs at fucking Niji Sanji here were real loosey-goosey with Doki Bird's information, confidential information, it seems. So I'll go ahead and play the clip from Doki Bird when she learned about all of this.
Despite everything that has happened, I was very sad to find out a personal document that was only shown between 3 different parties had to be leaked out, because it was a document I made for my lawyer, and it was a document that was not supposed to be shown anywhere else but to me and my lawyer, and to the lawyers on the other side, and we were promised it was not to be shown anywhere else.
Because that's how the process is supposed to work in a fucking legal battle, where you're not sharing confidential information with others unrelated to the fucking legal battle taking place. But I guess Niji Sanji, being the goobers they are, for some reason tried to weaponize that information by giving it to Selin's friends, and most likely, I'll say there's a high chance, forcing them to make that video a message from Niji Sanji, which is a terrible video that I don't think they wanted to make, because they have to have known it'd be a disaster for them on a personal level. Like, their careers are definitely taking a hit because of that. Like, and I feel like they'd know that for sure. But I feel like Niji Sanji was trying to strong-arm them into doing it, because from the sound of things, it looks like anyone that signs with Niji Sanji is basically just their fucking hostage for the entire time you're with the agency. Doki Bird went on Twitter to once again say that it was never supposed to be shown to anyone other than me, the lawyer, and any other relevant lawyers. It was a private document with personal information, and then expressed concern, wondering if her medical and hospital records were also released without her consent, since that was also promised to be kept private. She says she's currently talking to her lawyer, and thankfully only her diagnosis and reason for hospital stay was reported without further private info being disclosed. So that's currently where everything's at right now, and Niji Sanji is bleeding out. So much so that the CEO made his own little YouTuber apology video, which is trash. I was going to play you clips from his apology video, but with Niji Sanji, you never really know what stupid shit they're gonna do, so I didn't want to risk getting a strike on it for covering it. So instead, I'll just go ahead and refer to the article here. One of the main things that he apologizes for off rip is that after announcing the termination of Selin, there was a notice that was published saying that the impact this would have on the company's performance would be negligible. And he says that this was a misunderstanding, and they used inconsiderate word choice for it, and recognizes that Selin was integral to the growth of Niji Sanji English branch. And really, the whole thing more just seems like a statement to investors, like on a business side of things, as opposed to like a legitimate apology for anything that happened. To me, it comes across as super corpo, soulless suit speak, like, yeah, we terminated Selin, whatever, that's well, who cares? What really matters is the investors not losing faith. So we'll make this video to try and regain that investor faith so we can keep raking in those big bucks. He promises like very vague things about change is coming, we need better systems in place, that we're working towards this and that, but none of it really comes across as sincere, especially considering that if you really wanted to make a good faith, like strong stance, like we need to change, start with monetarily. It's now come out that your talent gets fucked financially when it comes to their split on like merch sales and things like that. If you really want to make a good faith, like convincing, compelling argument that you're going to change, start there. I would like to see that, because you can easily showcase that one. It's going to be hard to convey to the public that you're changing things behind the scenes, because again, that's behind the scenes. It's always going to be something that the public's never going to be fully privy to, but your merch split with your talent, that is public. If you allow your VTubers to talk about it, they can say, hey, look, we just got raised up a ton of percentage when it comes to our merch split, and we really appreciate that. It's a sign of goodwill, you know, and maybe things will get better in the future elsewhere too. But personally, I don't see them making any meaningful changes to company culture or the way things happen behind the doors or anything monetarily. I just don't see them really doing a whole lot to improve. And I think the community feels largely the same way, which is why Niji Sanji continues to fester here. Now, while they haven't fully gone under or anything of that nature, they are definitely trending in a downward death spiral at the moment, where it seems more graduations are on the way, most likely, or perhaps even terminations to more talent, and the public is not super excited about the future of Niji Sanji English branch. Now, the English branch of Niji Sanji is just one component of it. Its biggest is still the Japanese sector. But I have to imagine if the English branch flounders and fails, it's going to be bad for Niji Sanji as a whole, because it still was a sizable chunk of their company, and that's going to affect that side of things too. So it's definitely something that they wouldn't like to see go away, I would imagine. But it's looking like it's going towards that direction. So anyway, I just wanted to cover this a bit because it is a huge deal, and one of those situations where a company that was really at a point where it was probably too big to fail is starting to fail. Truly by their own mismanagement, own problems, and own toxicity. And I'm wishing the absolute best for Doki Bird going forward. Hopefully the legal process she's engaged in is smooth and an easy W, and hopefully her streams continue to pop off. So best of luck to her, and yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. Escape from Tarkov? More like escape from the video games industry, because their new greedy decision is having them run out of town with people chasing them down with pitchforks and leaving their game in droves. Escape from Tarkov probably needs no introduction. It's a massively popular game, and they just pulled a huge blunder that is catastrophic for their company. They are releasing a new PvE game mode at a $250 price point. That is so many doubloons it makes me want to spit. For $250, I expect to download this new mode and then actually have the CEO of Battlestate Games come over and rim me out. That is stupid to be charging for DLC. But even aside from that delusional price point, it commits every unforgivable atrocity that could ever befall a video game. It breaks all the rules, commits every sin that not even the Lord can forgive. It is pay to win out the wazoo, and this is something they actually doubled down on today, which I'll cover soon. This is a story that's been developing over the last 24 plus hours, and it just keeps getting worse. It's like they're trying to find every possible electrical outlet to stick a fork in until it finally ruins the company. Like, they are so focused on burying their fist as far up their own ass as possible. So it's pay to win in the very literal sense of being pay to win, but the absolute worst part is that it broke a promise to their community who had bought into a previous edition they offered. It was misleading their entire community. So they offered something called the Edge of Darkness edition for $100 in the past. And one of the perks of buying that $100 Edge of Darkness edition is that you would have access to all subsequent DLC in the future for free. So $100 is a lot of money for a DLC, but it was kind of like an investment long-term into the game that they loved. So they paid that $100 under the impression that in the future, if more DLC content was coming, they'd have access to it without needing to pay more. But now, fast forward to the Unheard edition for $250, they are not allowing the Edge of Darkness buyers access to that DLC for free. They would still need to buy that. Now, initially, that was going to be it. You'd have to pay the extra $150, but with all of the backlash that understandably came from this, they decided to dip their toes into a compromise where they would offer the EOD buyers 6 months of access to the Unheard edition, so they get a fucking free trial, like a drug dealer giving them their first hit for free. It's laughably pathetic. I don't even think Mr. Krabs would pull some shit like this, because even he would recognize that this would ruin his business. This is incomprehensible greed. I learned about all of this last night on stream, so I'm going to play you all of those clips to get you caught up to speed on the lore and exactly what's been going on here and how bad it all is. And then I'm going to come in to give you the latest updates with what's been happening today, only a couple of hours ago, because it continues to get worse and worse for Escape from Tarkov somehow. Earlier today, the Unheard edition of Escape from Tarkov was announced as part of the latest patch, promising a brand new player versus environment mode and other bonuses. Yippee! Now that the edition has launched, fans are not happy with the bonus it gives and the massive $250 price tag. That is a big chunk of change that even has EA and Ubisoft doing this right now. So just this one DLC was $250? The first issue that fans have is that the player versus environment mode for Tarkov is exclusive to those who buy the new edition. This is despite the fact that anyone who purchased the old Edge of Darkness edition was promised all future DLC content as part of the season pass, which you would think would include this new mode. So this is false advertising? Is that what they're coming after Tarkov for? Because they're saying that you get all future DLC with this, and now they're not giving you all future DLC? A lot of fans who have the Edge of Darkness edition are rightfully very annoyed they now have to upgrade from EOD, which costs $100, in order to play it. However, some posts on the official Discord have tried to explain why BSG thinks this is not DLC. Please don't tell me they're trying to fight their battle. Well, actually, they push up their glasses. It's not DLC by the technical terminology. That's not the correct nomenclature. This is a new single-player experience, thus they did not circumvent any laws. Not only that, there is a clip from Landmark channel of them changing the wording on their website live to hide what they did. I'll check that out. It's from Landmark. It ain't DLC, it's unique feature of the new edition added, said Discord user Applezor, who is the lead community manager at Battlestate Games for Escape from Tarkov. DLC means additional downloadable content. PvE is a feature and a game mode. Just because you all want it to become a DLC, it wouldn't mean it is one. It's featured game mode for the new edition of the game. Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town? What? What kind of weak-ass argument is that? Huh? That's a lot worse than I thought that was going to be. The other major issues that fans have been complaining about is the big in-game bonuses players with the new edition will get. While other editions of the game give some bonuses, so far none have been major factors when on the map and fighting with other players. The closest is extra loot that they get at the start of a wipe. However, this new edition includes more space to store loot when on the map, improved skills at the start of a wipe, and a bonus where AI scavs will not shoot at them if they have over 6 reputation levels with fence. So that's what the pay-to-win article was about then, which is an entirely separate issue. These, along with some other bonuses, have led to the edition being labeled pay-to-win, with players who buy it expected to have a big advantage over those who do not. The reaction to the new edition has been so negative that all but 3 channels in the official Escape from Tarkov Discord have been silenced, with users not able to post in them. Moderators on the game's subreddit are also waiving the rule that prevents multiple posts about the same topic, saying they are just as livid about this situation as you. You know things are reaching like deep DEFCON levels if even the subreddit mods are like, nope, we're mad about this as well. That's when you know you have truly fucked up. Battlestate Games did not respond to my request for comment. Battlestate Games is yet to officially comment on the backlash, with pressure mounting from fans and some even looking into legal action. You would expect them to do it so sooner rather than later. The move also comes at a very bad time given that Gray Zone Warfare, a game many see as a competitor to Tarkov, has just wrapped up its first public streamer test, which has gone incredibly well with fans. With public sentiment towards Tarkov very low, many fans are hoping they can get their hands on Gray Zone Warfare sooner rather than later. Here's an update at 8:15. The official Escape from Tarkov account has posted a statement that seems to suggest Battlestate Game has no plans to make the new mode available to anyone who does not buy the new edition. Hey guys, listen, we heard the outrage. Fuck you. PvE mode is a unique feature which is available only for owners of the Unheard Edition. We will keep you updated on new features exclusive for EOD owners. And then they even got community noted. New game modes are generally accepted as DLC if put behind a paywall. Battlestate sold EOD with the promise that they would receive free access to all subsequent DLCs. So they're even getting their ham steamed by fucking Twitter community notes. Not only that, there's a radio you can call in friends mid-raid to help you as a PMC, which has never been a feature. It sounds very strong. You're still gonna buy it, right? Brother, I don't play Tarkov. And you would never catch me spending $250 for a fucking DLC. I don't even buy DLC when it's like $5. You think I'm gonna drop 250 clams on this? Who do you think you are? I am. Or I'm not. I would not do that. That's craziness. Tarkov devs are also shitting on the competitor game on Twitter. That just means that they're kind of desperate. I imagine this is what you're talking about from his stream. They just changed what you get retroactively to avoid the folks calling them out. I've talked with ANPC, National Agency for Customer Protection again. The only way we can solve this is if we make formal complaints to BSG about this. If they are left unresolved for 30 days, we can proceed with the lawsuit, no problem. If they answer negatively, we can proceed. I suggest you all to do formal complaints as BSG. Make them have 1,000 lawsuits at once. This is available for Europe, the 30 days thing. Man, that severely underpaid social media guy for BSG is going to have the worst 30 days of his life. Meanwhile, all the big wigs are just going to be counting their money from the whales that won't be able to contain themselves, scratching at the neck and spending the 250. I've been playing Tarkov for like 8 years. This hurts, man. Yeah, I don't even play Tarkov, and this is pretty painful just to read. I don't know how they thought this would go over well. That's something that I just can't wrap my head around. Like, it's 2024. These companies hire tech-savvy people. They have social media experts. They have these fucking think tanks and focus groups, and yet somehow these kind of decisions still go through. There really must just be this epidemic of people that spend money no matter what and say nothing. Like, this has to somehow be profitable for them, because it happens too often. The big problem is them changing the promise. Oh, and that's not even I mean, that is a big problem, but to me the biggest problem is just like this outrageous price point that they thought was gonna work. Even if there was no broken promises, I still feel like most people would see $250 for some fucking DLC and scoff. Look at Star Wars Outlaws, for example. Granted, you get a lot more out of this for $250 than you do out of Star Wars Outlaws for $130, but even still, those prices are fucking insano style. And you want to know what else is laughable and pathetic? Their social media guy who's fighting for his life right now on Twitter. So, Escape from Tarkov is by far the biggest in the genre. However, there are a couple of competitors. And this lone warrior with access to BSG's Twitter, the company behind Escape from Tarkov, is doing his best to try and play hardball, fight fire with fire. But he didn't realize he was bringing piss to a poop fight and ended up covered in filth. He desperately tried to plant his feet here and make a public slapping display. There was another game that was taking advantage of all of the hoopla here, recognizing that Tarkov fumbled and that a lot of players were leaving, so they made an announcement saying like, hey, you guys are welcome in our game. And the BSG social media champion tried this little maneuver. Have a nice 20-minute adventure in the blatant plagiarist game, In and Out. And then even got slapped by Twitter, community noted, saying, hey, it's not plagiarism. They need to prove that assets were taken from EFT. So even Twitter's making fun of BSG. Now let's start with the newest developments here. The biggest one by far is a supposed unreleased interview with BSG. I'm not going to get too specific about it because I don't know if I'm even allowed to really talk about it. I'm pretty sure I can't show it because, again, it is unreleased. But basically the interview went as bad as you could have possibly imagined. The interview opens with him saying that all of this is not a mistake. He's not forcing anyone to buy their game. So, suck it up, basically. And then another question that was asked point blank was, are you contemplating any solutions since this has been received so poorly? And he gave a single word response. No. So it doesn't seem like there's any signs of them changing their minds with this direction here. The whole interview was him just basically throwing everything into the shitter and saying, deal with it. 250, fork it over, is what it is. We're not changing this. And then, this one blew my mind. They did make a slight update to all of this, where instead of addressing the price problem or the lying about what EOD owners will get in the future or the shady, scummy attempt at hiding things on their website, instead of addressing any of the complaints, they instead doubled down on pay-to-win features. In response to all of this, everything that's been going on, they basically come out and say, like, hey guys, look, We've heard you. We see what's going on here. We're listening. So we're giving you more pay-to-win features. Mother of pearl, just look at this list. One of these is high priority matchmaking. They're getting a priority queue for 6 months. It's not even the lifetime. Keep in mind, they're not giving you lifetime access to the Unheard Edition pay-to-win shit. It's a 6-month trial to try and get you hooked and hopefully get the whales to buy into the 250 down the line. Like, this is... Their solution to all of this shows just how out of touch and greedy they are. This is greed on a scale I don't think I've ever seen in the games industry before. This is making EA sweat. EA right now is taking notes. They're like, whoa, how are they doing this? Like, they're right now, they're trailblazing. Like, I feel terrible for EFT players. I never really got super deep into Tarkov. I've tried it a few times, but I'm just not big into the extraction genre, to be honest. But man, this must suck as a big fan of the game. This is so unacceptable. The best case scenario here is another game comes and does what EFT does better and isn't led by the greediest, stupidest fucking people in the industry. That's the best case scenario here, but who knows how long something like that will take. The dumb assholes at Battlestate Games have really done something shocking here. In an industry that is overcome with greed out the wazoo, somehow Battlestate Games just found a new low. That's impressive. Actually impressive. Anyway, though, wishing the best for the EFT community during this time, because Jesus, that shit is awful. Yeah, so I just want to talk about this a little bit. That's it. See ya. I'm just gonna get this out of the way right now. My voice sounds like a chain smoker who swallowed a bag of rocks, and there's not much I can do about it. But there's something I really want to talk about today. Nobody hates Nintendo fans more than Nintendo themselves. Every year, sometimes multiple times a year, Nintendo will lash out and just attack YouTubers who make videos about their games, like the biggest fans. And if they're not attacking YouTubers, they're attacking grassroots tournaments. It's foul. Nintendo has some kind of grudge against people that like their products. They view them as enemies, like terrorists. How dare you enjoy our products this much that you're willing to make content or have tournaments around them? We're putting the kibosh on it. And that's exactly what they've done again to a massive YouTuber named Point0. Oh my god. What the fuck? Nintendo even sent an assassin after me with Io here with that jump scare. Jesus. That was terrifying. It's good to see you though, Io. You heard me talking about Nintendo and just wanted to come in and chime in on how shitty they are? I respect it. Yesterday, Point0 posted this video where he talked about how Nintendo is not only taking down a ton of his content, mainly Breath of the Wild, but also striking his channel for it. For those that don't know, there's a couple different levels of severity here, a couple different DEFCONs you can go through on YouTube, where one of them is a video gets claimed by someone, which means they then take all of the AdSense. Another level is they block it and take it down, but you don't get a strike, you just no longer have the video up. And then the third most extreme level, this is when the air raid sirens are sounding, going nuclear, striking a channel, which takes down the video and issues a strike to the channel, which is debilitating. And if you get 3 strikes, you lose your whole channel, it just fucking vanishes. And this is usually supposed to be reserved for the most egregious of offenses, just severe violations of the rules, like you're trying to punish Dirty Dan for getting a little crazy on the platform, then that's when the strikes were supposed to be used. It's because it's basically like capital punishment here on the platform. But Nintendo uses this willy-nilly. They're very loosey-goosey with issuing strikes. This is their first strategy. They don't reach out or try to play nice. They immediately just start rolling around in the pig pen and spitting and shitting on anyone who's covered their content, it seems. They throw out more strikes than a professional bowler, and that's exactly what they've done to Point0. They've issued 2 strikes on his channel. I'm going to play portions of his video here where he talks about it more in detail, but it's so fucked up. Nintendo is such a scummy company. I cover all of their L's because I love their products, but I hate their company. I think they're still learning what an email is. They don't know what video content even means. The internet is this mysterious boogeyman to them. They don't fucking get it. They're out of touch. They're delusional, and it shows. They do this so often, and they've done this for as long as the internet's been around. Even back during the dial-up era, I'm pretty sure Nintendo would have tried to lobby against the internet's creation in the first place. They view it as an evil tool used by the devil because it showcases their games. It makes me fucking angry. and they've done it once again.
Listen to what I have to say and consider reversing the decision to claim these videos. I make videos playing games, sometimes in strange ways. But for today, it's important for you to know that on occasion, I modify the games I play and explore what happens when the game mechanics are a little different. I have never encouraged piracy of Nintendo's games. The mods that I've commissioned are not being sold, and all of the code is custom, meaning that they are free of Nintendo assets.
PointCrow explains that the purpose of the video is to hopefully get Nintendo's attention to the issue and reverse their decision. Something Nintendo's never done in the entire fucking company's history, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've ever listened to anyone ever, not even like their own kids. Like, there is no one Nintendo listens to, and I don't think they've ever walked back a decision ever. If they even loosely heard from the community, Nintendo Online wouldn't be such an embarrassing pile of dog shit that you have to pay for, which is still just an absolute war crime to even be charging for how bad that service is. But anyway, I'd love to be wrong here, and someone at Nintendo actually has internet access and watches this video and has a heart like, oh wow, yeah, maybe this was overkill. But I just don't see that happening, though I would, again, love to be pleasantly surprised. PointCrow lays out that he makes videos and does a lot of content on Nintendo games, and in some of that content he mods them. He modifies the games to be goofier, and the content is fire. So he needed to explain that when he modifies the games, he's not encouraging piracy, he's not stealing anything from Nintendo, it's all custom, and it is in line with their own content policy that they themselves published.
On April 6th, 1 week ago, Nintendo decided to block all 4 videos that I put up on YouTube playing the multiplayer mod. I appealed their decision, as I'm very much in line with their content guideline policies. We'll go over that in a moment. Nintendo then escalated and issued a copyright strike against my YouTube channel. Not once, but twice. Rather than bundle the videos all into one copyright strike, Nintendo issued a copyright strike for one video, and then bundled the other 3 into another strike.
That's deliberately evil. That's malicious. They could have bundled them all together for one strike, which would have still been an absolute load of fucking horseradish, but they decided to go even a step further to the dark side and divide them in order to issue multiple strikes. That's so fucked up, but a very classic Nintendo move. Just another huge L from this company.
Deliberately putting my channel in danger, but not taking it down completely. I was able to get an email address for Nintendo and sent a message asking that we discuss what's going on and try to reach an amicable resolution that would make both parties happy. I heard nothing back so far. Here's that email if you would like to read it.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure Nintendo has cobwebs on their email address. I don't think they know how to log in. Maybe they forgot the password. Maybe they just forgot it existed. PointCrow does have a legal team giving him advice here, and I think he's handling it in all of the right ways, but Nintendo is just completely unresponsive to anything from anybody. Like, you could actually have fucking Joe Biden send them some kind of presidential message or whatever, and if it doesn't get there by carrier pigeon, they're not getting it regardless. Again, I've said this before, but you would have better luck reaching Nintendo if you wrote your message on a rock and threw it outside of your window right now. They'd stand a better chance of seeing that than anything else, like a fucking email or anything. They truly just don't give a shit.
So the next day, Nintendo claimed 24 more of my videos from my channels. Most of them are modded content. A lot of them are Breath of the Wild. But not all of them are. This is key. They also claimed videos containing footage from Super Mario Odyssey, the Pokemon series, and Wii Sports Resort from my channel. The most surprising one, though, was a claim from one of my first videos back in 2019, marrying Sidon and a bookshelf to create Hyrule's first car. It's just a regular, vanilla gameplay video of Breath of the Wild.
The belief I and many others had going into this video, seeing what he posted on Twitter, was that the reason they're striking these videos and taking down this Breath of the Wild content is because their upcoming game, Tears of the Kingdom, is right around the corner, and for some reason now they're going around fucking feeding knuckle sandwiches to anyone who's made Breath of the Wild videos, I guess, and they've always had a real thorn in their side about modding. That's just a rock in their shoe that makes them very upset that people mod their games in order to have more fun with them. They don't recognize that the people modding those games are literally their biggest fans and making a ton of content around it, which only helps spread the game further in a positive way. PointCrow's mods weren't malicious, he wasn't selling them or anything like that, And as you can see from what he just showed, it's not like they were only claiming modded videos. That video from 2019 is just vanilla gameplay. It's not fucking modded out the wazoo or anything. They just very much viewed him as some kind of like bad guy and started blasting him as hard as they could. They fucking claimed the vanilla gameplay video of Breath of the Wild. That is so far into degeneracy. It's nuts. And the cat's out of the bag here. It's clearly not Tears of the Kingdom motivated because they also hit other videos from him that were on completely different games.
These takedowns aren't exclusive to my channel either. Over the course of the next couple days, Nintendo is taking down videos from other channels as well. Croton, another very prominent YouTuber, has had at least 10 live streams and 2 videos removed. Importantly, one of those videos is simply a challenge video, detailing how the game would be played if the player decided to explore Zelda, with certain restrictions the player has imposed on themselves. These takedowns may have started with modded content, but they have spiraled into something else entirely.
Yeah, they've spiraled into lunacy here. They're not just targeting modded content, though I don't think there's any real justification for what they've done, even if it was only modded content. Modded content isn't some affront to God for these companies. It is players modding your game and making content around it, and just enjoying it even further. Now, maybe there are some mods that are bad news, but I promise you it's not the ones you're striking down from these YouTubers. It's just further wiping their own ass with their already awful reputation and staining it even further. But again, they don't care. Purchasing a Nintendo game honestly feels fucking horrible because you're buying something from a company that doesn't respect you and actually just fucking straight up hates you. It's like buying clothes from your high school bully. Like, damn, the clothes are fire, but god damn it, the person behind it hates me and literally spits on me every chance they get. It just sucks. Like, Nintendo makes such bangers, but the company is just actual trash.
So now you know what's happening. At this time, my channel has had 29 videos taken down, 2 copyright strikes, and Nintendo does not seem to be stopping the removal of videos from other creators on YouTube. They've shown that they're striking down regular gameplay videos as well. It's sporadic, and their enforcement of their copyright is incredibly uneven. The thing is, without even considering fair use, all of these videos are very clearly in line with Nintendo's own game content guidelines for online video and image sharing platforms.
Nintendo is going insano style right now, absolutely purging YouTube of all types of different content out of nowhere. Like, all of it's pretty nonsensical. It's not just modded content, it's actual just normal gameplay videos, like playing Breath of the Wild with like a challenge run and shit like that. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they start taking down speed runs or even just general walkthroughs. Like, it's absolute madness. It's chaos. And there's just no way of defending this behavior from Nintendo. Point Crow explains that all of this content fits within their own content policy, as well as, of course, being fair use. They state that they encourage creative input and commentary for content around their video games, as well as like Let's Plays, video game reviews, which it doesn't really seem like they are saying that with a smile on their face, considering they're now just taking down all of these videos that have creative input and commentary. The things that they highlight that they don't allow are the obvious things, right? Where it's just like, you know, full Nintendo trailers or all of their soundtrack and shit like that. Things that other companies also don't encourage either.
You might argue that modded content is in violation of these guidelines, but historically that's not the case. The terms of service for The Legend of Zelda says you cannot modify the game, but it also says that you cannot stream it, you cannot make videos of it, and you cannot otherwise broadcast it. Nintendo's game content guidelines changes this, though, by providing a license on top of the existing terms of service, which modifies the terms of service for content creators. All of the videos that they have taken down are in compliance with their own policies.
A lot of games in their terms of service actually have similar statements, such as like no making videos or streaming the game or anything like that. But like Point Crow mentions, there's extenuating circumstances. There's like an overarching branch of it where they do modify that for the content creators and content that is made around their products. Because obviously in this day and age, any game is going to be like streamed or have videos about it. So a lot of companies encourage it, and Nintendo claims they also encourage it. They even talk about like how touched they are when people make Nintendo focused videos, which is the biggest fucking lie ever told. Like, my god, what a fucking fib, no shot. Every video made on a Nintendo game makes them angry. I feel like they view that as lost dollars, potentially. Like, oh no, a potential customer may have seen this video and now they're never going to bother getting the game because they got the whole experience from watching this one guy play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild by killing all of the trash mobs. No, we lost somebody, they've ruined us. Take them down. It's just something that has existed for a long time, right? No streaming the game, no making videos on it, but that's just not the way it's worked historically on the internet for a long time now. And Nintendo has understood that up until recently, where I guess they got hit by a fucking stupid beam and are now taking down videos again. Completely innocent ones.
In fact, what they've demonstrated here is that they will ignore their own policies and licenses to selectively enforce their intellectual property. So, if you've uploaded any video that features any Nintendo content, no matter how transformative or directly in line with their published guidelines, you are at risk. You mentioned in your content guidelines that you are humbled every day by the loyalty and passion for Nintendo's games, characters, and world, and respect that we want to be able to express ourselves creatively by sharing our own videos and images using content from your game. And if you truly respect us and are humbled by this community, don't take this creativity away from us.
Overall, I think it's an extremely strong video from Point Crow here, which once again highlights Nintendo's out-of-touch delusion, and it serves as a great open letter to the company that I have no doubt will go completely radio silent on. I don't think they're going to see it. I don't think they're going to care. They're going to most likely continue to take down completely innocent videos and maybe even whole channels that have covered Nintendo products or made Nintendo-focused content, all because they're just fucking evil. Like, I really don't know what it is anymore. This does nothing to help them. This just puts another blemish on their reputation. This doesn't get people excited for Tears of the Kingdom. This just makes more and more people afraid of Nintendo. And for a company that's supposed to be like all about family fun, I don't know why they want to be feared so badly, ruling their property with an iron fist and allowing no room for creativity or imagination in their worlds from the people that love them the most, like Point Crow mentions. It's just shit. It's just an actual pile of dog shit, and I wanted to talk about that. I'm wishing Point Crow the absolute best here, navigating these two strikes on his channel, because Nintendo is a fearsome foe. So I really am hoping for the best for him. He's a great guy, and Nintendo is anything but a great company. They're trash. That's really about it. So yeah. It's impossible to say what the worst feeling in the world might be. I think most people would default to answering that with something painful, like getting hit with a sledgehammer, getting shot. Childbirth is usually towards the top of that tier list for how painful it is. Maybe watching Rebel Moon Part 2 for how abominable it is. But I actually think there's a right answer to what the worst feeling in the world is. And it's being dead. And a YouTube channel called Watcher would agree with my analysis because they experienced death for about 3 days when they released their Goodbye YouTube video, where they announced that they were leaving the platform in order to have their own subscription-based third-party platform for their content going forward, and people didn't like that. They got spit on more than a mic at a beatboxing competition, and now they're backpedaling. They've released an apology, and they've announced that they've made a mistake, they've apologized, and they've talked about their plan going forward now. I'll bring you up to speed on the lore in case you're unfamiliar with this story, but this is a massive YouTube channel. They are a beloved group where they made this absolute wet fart of announcement where it was saying that they were going to be producing all of their content going forward behind a paywall on their own platform for $6 a month. So all of the content that their fans were used to getting on YouTube for free is now locked behind a $6 a month subscription fee. They said they continue to drop premieres on YouTube, but the rest of the season, well, that would cost you some clams to access. Obviously, this ruffled everyone's feathers, especially considering they already have a Patreon where people were signing up for monthly membership fees of $5, $10, or $25 a month, and this was an additional service on top of that for a monthly subscription, so it was just a disaster. And they lost close to like 100,000 subs over the course of 3 days. It wasn't quite 100K, but it was a lot. And now, today, they've released this.
Hey everyone, last Friday we announced that we're leaving YouTube and launching our new streaming platform.
We messed up. A lot of you spoke out with extremely valid comments and concerns, and we want to take the time now to address those.
We've been reading the things you've been saying, and we're sorry for the way we handled this, as well as the way we communicated it.
Right up front, it succeeds where a lot of other YouTuber apologies fail. They say they fucked up, and they say the golden word, I'm sorry. They make an apology right off rip. So it's a pretty good start to this one, all things considered.
We understand where you're coming from, and we're making immediate changes.
First, we want to affirm that you are the reason why we've been able to do anything at this company. You helped us every step of the way when we left BuzzFeed to start Watcher at the top of the pandemic in 2020.
You've supported us in so many ways by watching our content, attending our live shows, buying our merch, becoming members of our Patreon, and giving words of encouragement over the years.
This is another super strong moment here because it's tugging on the audience's heartstrings. It's very much buttering them up in a positive way. I'm not saying that as a negative thing. It's clear that they recognize the significance of having that audience. The whole content creation shit online doesn't work if no one's watching it. I mean, I guess if you had like an army of bots that view it, like you're a kick streamer or something, then maybe you can make an argument that it'd be sustainable even if you don't have a single human being watching. But clearly they understand that you need a passionate audience in order to survive in the online cyberspace Thunderdome. Now, there is something I want to mention here, though. He briefly mentions some of the ways the audience has supported them over the years, such as buying the merch, attending the live shows, subscribing to the Patreon for the monthly fee, and encouraging words. 3 out of 4 of those are huge revenue drivers. The kind words, not so much. You can't really make a whole lot of money. You can't convert nice comments to USD. There's no direct conversion there for that. I mean, unless you're making Hallmark cards, perhaps. But those other 3, attending live shows, subscribing to the Patreon, and also buying the merch. And there is a 4th one there as well, which is just by watching the videos, you are directly financially supporting them because AdSense through YouTube monetization, as well as the brand partners that have paid to be on their content. So they're already heavily monetized content, and I didn't even think about the live shows the first time I watched their video. That's a huge part of some teams' bottom lines because they bring in so much money. It's like one of the main revenue drivers for bands in particular with concerts and buying tickets to it. So they have a lot of revenue sources already for their brand. So then immediately after hearing that in this video, I was like, so then why did you want to do Watcher TV for $6 a month? You have all of these other streams that the audience has been supporting for so long. Why would you want to have another one to milk those titties dry? Like, it just doesn't seem right. It seems greedy. Now, they do shine some light on the motive behind doing this, the reason behind the Watcher TV idea in the first place. So we'll get to that pretty soon.
And we are incredibly grateful for your support.
We're sorry for how we originally delivered our goodbye message to YouTube. It was insensitive. We didn't properly express how much we appreciate all of you. And we did a really bad job of explaining the reasoning behind this transition.
We also want to deeply apologize for our ignorance around the impact of the cost. We regret stating and implying that it's a price that anybody can afford, and we fully acknowledge that it is not. We didn't take the proper consideration for how this cost would affect you, and hope you know that we are taking this as a serious learning experience.
It seems like they really did listen to pretty much all the feedback. They're hitting all of the main points, both in their delivery as well as the actual idea behind this venture. So it's nice that they're up here taking the accountability and saying, yeah, these are things that we really just didn't even think about. I'm sorry, we fucked it up. Like that is something that you don't see very often, so it's nice to see them just take it on the chin here.
With that in mind, we're making some changes to ensure that there's a way for our community to continue watching our content for free.
If you want to watch our shows early and ad-free, you can catch them on the Watcher platform a month earlier. After that, you'll be able to watch our shows on YouTube for free. For those that have already subscribed to the platform, we are so grateful for your support. But if this change has you rethinking your membership, we will issue a full refund. And all past episodes and series will remain available on YouTube.
That's a pretty solid change overall. That is something you see for a lot of Patreons for YouTubers or third-party offerings if it's not Patreon. So it does make sense that they do this here. I am surprised that that's not something they were already offering on Patreon with early access. That's one of the more standard ones. But I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If there's people that are just hungry, starved for more Watcher content, they can subscribe for $6 a month on that platform and they get that content fed to them a month early. And those that don't want to or can't afford to can just wait for it to premiere on YouTube for free, as it has always done in the past for the content that they've come to know and love. That gets 2 thumbs way up from me for the back of the DVD box on that change. I think that's completely fine. Everyone wins there. If you really want the content early, you subscribe to the early access membership for Watcher TV. And if you just want to get the content that you already know you like, you just wait for it to come up on YouTube, and it's no different for you. So I think that is a totally fair compromise.
As for the question of why we decided to launch our own platform, when we started Watcher in 2020, we wanted to create shows that we were proud of, that we had ownership over, and that would provide you the caliber of content that we felt you deserved. However, we were finding it harder and harder to stay relevant to advertisers and the constantly changing YouTube landscape.
This is where my eyebrow raised a bit, so I decided to look into their content just briefly. I didn't do like a full deep dive here, but of their last 20 videos, 12 of them have brands on them. I'm excluding their Goodbye YouTube video, but also there's one more in that batch of 20 that I think doesn't really count, and it's a teaser trailer for the mystery files that they did, so it was just a very short trailer. But 12 out of 19 full videos have sponsors in them. As I mentioned in the last video, I own an agency that manages a lot of major YouTube channels of this size and bigger. So I know what a lot of those deals look like, and I know that those deals are super lucrative. And at their size, those are significant numbers that we're looking at. Over half of their videos of the last 20 are brand partnered. It doesn't seem like they were really struggling to get brands on their content, so I don't exactly know what he means by staying relevant to brands, especially because in this industry, brands focus mainly on your cold, hard Carfax, your metrics, your numbers, and they pull in great viewership numbers as well as a very engaged community. So brands must have hearts in their eyes anytime they get the chance to work with Watcher, just because their numbers are so good. But on top of that, they actually produce some of the most brand-friendly content imaginable. This is the type of shit brands salivate over. It's long-form, highly produced content, and the creators actually do skits for the ads. At least in all the ones I've seen, they do like a fully produced brand piece in this content. So the audience actually enjoys watching these ads. That is a match made in heaven for sponsors. So I was very confused on what he meant by staying relevant to brands. And then the second thing about, staying relevant in like the ever-changing YouTube ecosystem, that's a totally understandable one. I get that. The YouTube ecosystem is 100% like this boogeyman that no one fully understands. But it doesn't really make sense to me. We found it harder and harder to compete in the ever-changing YouTube landscape, so we abandoned it. We waved the white flag and said we're defeated, so we created our own platform with blackjack and hookers. That's a Futurama reference. I'm not saying that's what Watcher TV is. But the point is, why would you go from this is a lot going on YouTube and it's changing to, all right, guess we got to leave it now and then charge people for access? That just doesn't really compute to me, because you kill your brand, obviously, which I think they've recognized now from all the feedback. It's very hard to get people to subscribe to $6 a month content on a third-party platform they don't know, as opposed to just showing them some free YouTube videos. You built your brand very successfully on YouTube, and you are still only growing from everything I can tell. So why would you abandon it at the height of your growth, right? Like that, I don't know, that reason doesn't really make a ton of sense to me, but I understand being like afraid about, long-term sustainability with how frequently YouTube is changing. I do get that, but I feel like the natural progression there would be like, okay, so how can we stay competitive on YouTube, as opposed to, okay, how the fuck can we get out of here?
We faced some incredibly challenging decisions. We didn't want to compromise our content to ensure they met advertising requirements, and we definitely did not want to lay people off that have brought Watcher to life behind the scenes, and we didn't want to bring Watcher to a close, which would have happened if we stayed solely on YouTube.
That's why we decided to launch the platform, so that we as a company could continue, we could pay our staff fairly, and not only continue to make great content for you, but expand with new shows, new voices, all ad-free. And now with the addition of accessible options, this is a decision that we all believe is the best for Watcher.
All those reasons he lists are perfectly reasonable. You don't want to lay off your staff, great. You want to pay them fair, great. Like all of these, they check mark the boxes of good shit. I support that. But I don't understand why your only option was to leave YouTube and charge $6 a month to your audience that's already paying for more merch, live shows, and Patreon, At least a large number of them are. They have over 13.4 thousand Patreon members right now. From all of this controversy, their Patreon has actually flourished more than it ever has from what I can see. So why would you want to take even more money out of their piggy banks here? The strategy would be to keep growing on YouTube so you can continue to monetize, you can charge higher rates to the brands that you work with, that I imagine you will continue to work with. And also, more views means more AdSense money. And like I said, this channel is so advertiser friendly. It's exactly what brands and YouTube themselves want, long form, high quality content. Their RPM is probably super fucking high. So the more they would grow on YouTube, the more money they would stand to make. They would easily be able to expand, I would think, without charging $6 a month for their initial idea of paywalling the content that they were used to giving for free. I do like their new model of pay $6 a month for early access, but I still do find it unnecessary. I feel like the only reason that's there is because they can't fully walk back that now. They can't just get rid of that because people have already paid for it, so they need to offer something to those people that have already signed up. But I don't think it's a necessary thing for the survival of their brand. I really don't. Like I said, I know what these brands pay to be on the content. So just their sponsorships, I know they're bringing in six figures from these sponsorships. Easy. And their Patreon, you can start crunching the numbers. 13.4 thousand Patreons at $5 minimum, up to $25. Like, come on. That's a lot per month. Plus their merch is pretty pricey, and people are clearly buying their merch. It seems to sell out quite a bit. That's a lot too. Live show tickets, when those come around, that's a pretty big influx. Their AdSense popping off. Like, they have so many revenue streams, I don't know how they can possibly be at this point where they need to find more ways of taking money from their audience in order to survive. That just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, unless there's some really odd mismanagement going on behind the scenes here. The videos they make aren't cheap, but I am confident that they're not costing them $500,000 per video or something outlandish like that. I know that's not the case. So how can you possibly be at this point where we had to find a new subscription for people to pay for in order to keep Watcher alive? I just don't get that.
However, we realized that in figuring out the logistics of what this might take, we overlooked the way it would impact all of you. We hope you'll be patient with us through these mistakes, and we remain incredibly sorry that they were made in the first place.
We also want to directly address our Patreon community, who have played such a key role in supporting us from the very beginning. All current Patreon members will receive a free subscription code to the platform. If you already purchased a subscription, please contact us and we will issue you a full refund.
We look forward to continuing to make shows and introducing all the incredible things that we've got planned for the platform alongside YouTube. And in the meantime, we are forever grateful to all of the people who make up our community. And we hope that you consider joining us in this next chapter of our journey, whether that's on YouTube or on the platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Overall, this is a good apology video, I feel. They say I'm sorry multiple times, they admit their faults, they try and explain why things were the way that they are, and how they missed the mark. Like, they take a lot of it and seem to understand it from a place of genuine authenticity, which is great. I still, however, don't understand why it reached that point to begin with. I don't see how a channel of their size and their success with all of the revenue streams that they currently offer could possibly be struggling financially. I really don't understand. I don't. Like, knowing what I know about this space, I just don't see how they could be needing to take even more money from their audience to survive. I do think they made a good change with what they're offering for $6 a month. I personally don't think that it's necessary at all, though, especially because the way they frame it in this video makes it sound like that's the only way the Watcher survives, is if they find a way to monetize even more off the backs of their viewers. So that's why the $6 a month there is being charged, because it helps keep them afloat. I don't know how they could possibly, with all of these revenue streams, be struggling to the degree that they make it seem like they are. But whatever, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. This announcement was very positively received by their audience, and that's the most important thing for the health of their channel and their brand, is that their audience feels satisfied with this update. And from what I can tell, they do. A lot of them do still state that there's been a breach of their trust here with what they tried, but it seems like they're forgiving and willing to see how things play out for this group in the future. So I guess we'll see what the watcher does down the line. That's really about it. So yeah. I like shiny cardboard. I do not like grading the shiny cardboard. I do not like green eggs and ham. I have said it for many moons now. I think grading cards is hooey. I know I've spit and shit about this topic for a while, but it's true. I just think it's a bunch of horseradish. You pay hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to grade your cards, and sometimes they get damaged. Other times, it just feels like it's truly just RNG, the roll of the dice, and it's entirely dependent on whoever's manhandling your card's mood on that given day with whatever grade they decide to dole out. To me, it just always feels inconsistent, so I just really never think that it's worth the money to get cards graded. And I know people make entire careers out of buying and selling graded cards and all of that. All power to you. I'm not your fucking dad. I'm not coming in there with a belt making you stop just because I don't like it. You do what you want to do. But there is just very real problems with the whole practice of grading cards, especially when it comes to things like PSA. And that's what we're about to talk about today. PSA is probably one of the biggest when it comes to card grading. I'm sure all of you have heard their brand name tossed around quite a bit. When it comes to card grading, they're like fucking Kleenex, where when people talk about a graded card, they usually say like PSA plus the number as opposed to like just general card grading. The same way when people talk about tissue, sometimes they say, can you give me a fucking Kleenex? Like it's gotten to that level where they are just that big. They're kind of the top dog. But I also just really don't like them in particular. I think they're one of the worst in the card grading industry, an industry I already think is full of corruption in general. And today I saw a video breaking down a wild situation where someone had an extraordinarily rare card. I'm talking less than 50 of these cards in the world, at least that are known about. It's a PSA, or was, RIP, God rest its soul, a PSA 10 Deoxys lenticular card. So basically it's 3 art in 1, and it's from over 22 years ago. There are only a handful of these out there, and the estimated price based on like recent data is around $45,000 for this card. And this individual had this card, and they wanted it to get reholdered. And when they sent it to PSA, they fucking blasted it. They annihilated that card. And what he received back was a PSA 6. What they're citing is a PSA 6, noting that it was damaged, unfortunately. And instead of like paying him what the card's actual value would be worth, they aren't willing to do that. They're instead hiding behind this fair market value number they're pulling out of their dirty rectum and offering significantly less. So I want to show you some of this video and go over this because it is very scummy from everything I can see.
This is a holy grail for some Deoxys collectors. And I'll tell you, it's a grail for a reason. It's got it all. It's old and it's very exclusive. It was only given out for the release of Pokemon's 7th movie, Destined Deoxys, and only in Japan was this card given out. And it's super cool because it's the only small lenticulated card to exist. Yeah, here's an example of a lenticulated Charizard card, or what lenticulated means. The card changes depending on the angle you look at it. Here's a little video that shows you how cool this card is.
This Pokemon card is actually 3 cards in 1. When you move this card up and down, Deoxys will change into a different form.
This is just showing you the card itself and what makes it so rare and valuable to collectors. Lenticular shit from back in the day is actually really hype. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but right here, I actually have my original copy of Majora's Mask with the lenticular label on it. It's so fucking cool. And this is a really rare card, especially to find in a pristine condition. It's been over 2 decades. So having a PSA 10 is very, very rare.
This is a sick card, and this particular card was originally graded as a 10. Originally. Now, how did that change? Well, it happened through a process called reholdering. Older PSA as a company, a grading company, was a little more lenient on Pokemon cards, or just cards in general, at the time. So, when you get an older slab, you expect a lesser quality condition of a card, even if it is in a 10. Logan Pulse Pikachu. And you'll see this happen at Pokemon card shows. People will ask if my card has a older certification number, meaning it was graded at a older point in time. And if they are graded at an older point in time, they're actually worth a little less. So what some people do is they get their cards reholdered.
Which is exactly what this individual is doing. They wanted it reholdered so they could have an updated slab showing that it is a pristine 10 even by modern, more strict grading standards, because that would then fetch a higher price to collectors that want to purchase the item. And according to the original Reddit post, they actually did have someone offer in excess of 45k. I'm assuming that may have been dependent on like the reholdering maintaining a 10, which is probably why they were like really gung-ho about doing it. And then disaster struck. And then the Fire Nation attacked.
Now imagine the shock that Brian felt when he submitted his super old, super rare, already in a PSA 10 Deoxys for reholdering, and it came back to him as a PSA 6, losing about 90% of its value. And it wasn't because he did anything wrong, but PSA actually damaged his card. 268-279-56, I actually looked it up, and as you can see, it actually has been deemed back down to an EX Mint 6. They kept the same certification number, and they turned it down from a PSA 10 all the way down to a PSA 6.
Again, just to make sure it's very clear, the reason he was doing this is because with an older slab, it was more lenient, which means buyers wouldn't pay as much because there's a chance it's not actually a 10. Maybe there's like some scuffs here, a little poop over there, like who really knows? So he was getting it reholdered to update that to fetch a higher price. And what happened is, and you can see it through searching the serial number, it got regraded all the way down to a 6, and then after corresponding with PSA via email, which we're about to look at, it's because they fucked it up. They ruined it. They took away the vast majority of the value of this card, which is life-changing money, mind you, all because they made a whoopsie-daisy. Oh, clumsy us, real butterfingers. We seem to have crumpled it up and used it as toilet paper. But don't worry, we slabbed it, and we've updated the serial number in our system, so now everyone will know that this is now a 6. Why aren't you happy? This is what you paid for. So here's the email. My name is Dorothy, and I am a supervisor for the Customer Relations Department team here at PSA. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me this morning as discussed over the phone. CERT, that's the Deoxys, was unfortunately impacted during our encapsulation process. This did lead the card to no longer merit the grade of a PSA 10. Instead, our head of grading has provided that the new grade is a PSA 6. I am provided the details below. Dorothy, come on! You're gonna make a grammar mistake like that? This is less than professional. I am provided. It should be I have provided the details below. Get with the program, Dorothy. Take this seriously. Along with our offer based on our findings of the fair market value. That's a boogeyman term with PSA, by the way.
They say the description, the card, and the original 10. They confirm that it's originally a 10, and they say that the fair market value is $20,000. And here's where we're going to get some issues. They said the grade of the value of the 6 is $750, and with the ordering fees, I can't believe they included the order fee here, that it costed $190 just to destroy their card. And so they go on to say that they would like to offer the market value difference in the form of credit on an account or a check and remove their insane respective grading fee, which, oh my gosh, I can't believe you'd spend $200 just for them to rewrite a number on a card.
Quick pause here, a little halftime show, because I have been screeching about that to the high heavens for so long. PSA overcharges the fuck out of everyone who makes the mistake of using their services. You pay an arm and a leg for the most basic of services, and they arbitrarily jack the price up as they're jacking themselves off on top of your cards, giving you whatever grades they decide to pull out of their ass that day, and their numbers make no sense. It's extremely expensive to do, like, basically anything even remotely adjacent to card grading through PSA. So, like, I'm not surprised at all about the reholdering being nearly $200 just to fucking update the slab. It's crazy, man. It is actually crazy. That price didn't shock me in the slightest. I'm actually surprised it wasn't $1,000, knowing PSA.
They would also like to offer to have the item encapsulated as the current PSA grade or as authentic at no additional cost. How kind of them. As discussed on the phone, I understand you have concerns with initial market values. Please note our fair market value pricing is established by calculating the average sold prices for comparable items. And they say if you show any difference, we'll forward them to the pricing evaluation team. Now, the reason why this is such a crazy deal and such an insane, insulting offer is because the last sale on this card was $45,000. Offering 20K as an average is a spit in the face, and I'll explain later why.
This is where it gets extremely spicy. That card sold only a couple of weeks ago by PSA. Then this is where it gets a little conspiratorial, but I think there's a lot of merit to it. There are people that are speculating that they didn't actually damage his card when reholdering it. The encapsulation process, it's a psyop. It's not real. What they're thinking might have happened is PSA, when reholdering that PSA 10 Deoxys that was submitted, they took it and then sold it themselves, and then instead gave him a 6, saying that it was damaged and now it's down to a 6. That is a theory, just a little game theory that a lot of people have, because you need to stop and consider just how unlikely these circumstances are that PSA had 2 PSA 10 Deoxys lenticular cards from 2004 at the same time, when there is only 38 of these cards in the fucking known universe. And somehow PSA had 2 of them at the same time. When this card was being reholdered, they had already been selling this other 10 that they had for $45K. The timing is just very suspicious. PSA was who sold that $45,000 Deoxys. But even setting aside the conspiracy, even if that's entirely just wrong and a bunch of fiddlesticks, they have their own data to pull from for the fair market value. They, PSA, sold this exact same card, this PSA 10 Deoxys, only a matter of weeks ago for $45,000. So wouldn't basic logic stand to reason that they would view that card as $45,000? So why are they now telling this poor guy here, who just lost this card now because of their incompetence, that actually fair market value is about 20K, so we'll give you 19K because we're splitting the difference here with the 6 and that, when they themselves have already sold it for 45K? They should know that that is the fair market value. That's what you just fucking sold it at. So why are you feeding this guy a bunch of nonsense? Why are you blowing smoke up his butt? That's why it's been like so big. And like, well, I mean, just damaging a card this rare is already going to be a big story, but this blows it up even further because of just how fishy and shady this whole thing is from PSA. They sold this exact card for 45K. Why are you now trying to turn around and say that it's only worth 20K to this individual here whom you've just ruined that exact card for? It doesn't make sense. It's weird.
And the thing is, if they gave him a decent offer, I wouldn't need to make this video. They actually threatened the dude if he made it public. This is like the stuff I would expect Kevin O'Leary to write if he was on a PR team. Please let me know once you find those listings or if you choose to accept their offer. Should you choose to accept the offer, due to the offer being over $500, we would need you to sign a standard release agreement. So their excuse is that because the offer is over $500, he needs to sign a hush-hush document. If you approve the resolution as offered, you would receive an email link to the DocuSign to review and sign the agreement. Please be aware that should you accept this settlement offer, our standard settlement agreement includes a confidentiality provision. Sorry, I'm sick. My brain is fried right now. Any public disclosure of the settlement offer may result in our rescinding the offer.
That's pretty stern. That's rather frank, but they do give you a nice little sweet apology at the end saying they sincerely apologize, and I think that's coming from a genuine place. Thank you so much, Dorothy, for that. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes. As he said, if it was like a decent offer, it's like, hey, we blew it here, man. We ruined your card. We'll just give you like the 45K or whatever that the card is worth. We literally just sold one, and we'll move on past this. But they don't do that. Instead, they lowball him an offer based off of just imaginary nothing math because they're trying to screw this guy over. And then they're saying at the end of the email that if he accepts it, they're basically going to lock him into confidentiality where he can't disclose anything about it because it would make PSA look really bad. And I think it's pretty clear he probably hasn't accepted that offer. I imagine, will be rescinding the offer, as Dorothy threatened to do in the end of the email there. And I think it just is a really, really bad look for PSA here across the board. I don't think they could have handled this any worse. But I also think this is a really nice look at how a company like PSA operates. I have said PSA is shady for a while. Dorothy calls it a standard form, which leads me and many others to believe that this is just the norm for them, that if they ruin your shit and it's over $500, they'll lock you down into being like quiet about it, so they'll pay you off like hush money and you can't talk about like, you know, the settlement, which I can almost see the logic behind, because like PSA probably doesn't want people hearing that they're ruining cards over like $500, because then people won't feel comfortable sending them the cards. But on the flip side of that coin, it would probably be good for their image to be like, hey, look, mistakes happen. We handle so many cards, you know, this volume. There are going to occasionally be these hiccups. And when that happens, look at all of these people we've taken care of when we've made an error. Like, I feel like you would want them to like say like, no, you know, I was upset about it initially, but then it got squared away. They gave me exactly what the card was worth. But that's clearly not how they operate. They'd rather just have it be like seemingly really lowball fair market value that they just make up poof out of nowhere based on nothing tangible. Like, it looks like what they tried to do is take really old sales of that card and then like kind of take into account their most recent sale and then find the average, but that's a stupid way of doing it because of how much the hobby and just the reselling has blown up. Like, it makes no sense why you wouldn't just take the data from the most recent sale your fucking self has just done. It seems like it's just a very underhanded tactic in order to try and justify these lowball amounts that they're offering that appear to be standard based on Dorothy's email. And the confidentiality, I just don't think is a good idea. Even though I can almost see why they're trying to do that, I think it's still just a shitty look. I think it would be far more effective if they just said, like, again, we made a mistake, and this is how we correct it. Look, he's even posting about it. We gave him exactly what the card was worth when we fucked up. I think that's a lot better than, we fucked up your card, now shut up and take this much lesser amount than what the card was worth.
So in the final picture, Brian includes the sales of all the past, cards of the same card, all the past sales is what I'm trying to say. And as you can see here, the last sale in February 2026 was $45,000. Now, just to clarify, because apparently Tony over here says, my only thing is that the card itself is different in that 45K sale, like different artwork. If you compare the exact same card, then they are fair. Oh my God. This card, they're saying the artwork is different because it doesn't look the same as this one over here. It's the same card. It's lenticulated. It has 3 different artworks on it.
I liked that section because I also saw a couple of people on like the original post saying, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not even the same card. The art's different. So I guess we've reached the point where people don't remember what lenticular means, like what those items are, like what they look like. The reason it looks different there is because it's just at a different angle, so you're seeing one of the different arts. It's lenticulated. There's 3 arts there. Like, Jesus Christ, it's the same card. And it only takes like 1 second, actually 1 second, to just type it in yourself to double check, like, is this the same card? Like, I don't know, it's different artwork, but maybe I just don't know what lenticular means. Let me look it up. Oh, okay. No, I see. Now I get it. But no one wants to do that anymore. They'd rather just immediately just type that stupid shit.
And I know some of you are wondering, like, look at these other sales. They go from, they're 5,500, they're 10K, 15K. Why is this 45K the one we're looking at? Well, you answered your own question. Because as you can see, cards are fluid. Their prices are going to go up. And it's only getting higher as time goes on. And when a card goes up in value, you can't just value the next card you sell based on the average of the past 3. That's not how it works. If anything, the card should be worth more money because, as you can see, there's a clear demand for this card and it's going up as time goes on.
Not only that, with a card this rare, every one of those sales, the reason it keeps going up is because there's less and less of them that exist, and there's not going to be more. I would be beyond surprised if we saw another PSA 10 of this card within the next, 2 or 3 years. It's very, very, very rare. So that's the reason it keeps climbing. So the most recent sale being 45 should be the one that they would look at the fair market value for and extrapolate like it's at least 45K. You wouldn't be taking the averages of the other ones because it's growing in demand and also in scarcity. There's not going to be more. So it's going to go up. And they know that. Again, this is just a very convenient way of trying to save quite a bit of money here for their boo-boo. Anyway, though, this is a good breakdown of the PSA situation here from Snomnom. I'll link the original in the description. And yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah. There's no shortage of horrible companies in the video game industry, but there's one that's been able to fly under the radar for way too long now, even though it's just as slimy and scummy as some of the more mainstream ones people like to spit on, and that's Nexon. You've probably heard of them because of MapleStory. That's by far their biggest game, their magnum opus, the cash cow that they're addicted to milking, and for a long time now they've been able to tiptoe around in the shadows, hiding their stink from the public nostrils. But last month, they flew a little too close to the sun, and we could start to smell their odor. And I swear to God, it smelled like shit. About a month ago, they decided to start bullying a smaller developer named Iron Mace, who's working on a game that I am a massive fan of called Dark and Darker. I've played every playtest so far, and I have been absolutely loving it. But love is a concept that doesn't exist at Nexon. Only cold, hard dollar bills that they were missing out on. They're like the Mr. Krabs of video games. So they started to put Iron Mace in their crosshairs, claiming that the Dark and Darker developers stole from Nexon. They said that not only did they steal code from an unreleased project at Nexon called P3, they stole assets from that project. And basically the claims boiled down to there was an employee at Nexon back in 2021 who was working on a project called P3 that is similar to Dark and Darker. That employee apparently was talking about like leaving and starting their own company, kind of expanding upon this P3 idea. He ended up being fired, and then, fast forward to late 2022, we have Dark and Darker, which bears some resemblance to that P3 project. So Nexon is claiming that they stole from them, citing assets and code that was ripped directly from that unreleased project, as well as idea theft, saying that this was a Nexon idea, and thus they don't really have the right to use it. Which is why that title is You Can't Copyright a Game Genre, because this is an extraction style game. It's a genre that's well established. The only spin on it is, instead of being guns like Tarkov, it's medieval weaponry, and it fucking bangs. This shit fucks. It is amazing. I love Dark and Darker. And unfortunately now, Nexon has gone so far as to issue a police raid on their studio headquarters, and as I understand it, they didn't find anything there. They reassured fans that it was quick and nothing was found, and there will be no delay in development and nothing to worry about. So I'm guessing they went there and got a giant fucking nothing sandwich served to them. There was, I suppose, no stolen code, no hidden secret documents from Nexon, no Krabby Patty secret formula, just some hardworking developers and their project. But that's not where this story stops. In fact, today, this is why we're talking about it, today Nexon has once again escalated this conflict and issued a full-blown cease and desist to Dark and Darker, which has led to it being pulled from Steam. So effectively shut down for the time being, all based on these claims that it was stolen from them. Of course, Iron Mace denies all the allegations, saying that Dark and Darker's code was built from scratch and its assets were either purchased from the Unreal Marketplace or designed internally. And if you've played Dark and Darker, you're going to notice like half of the assets in this game come from the Unreal Marketplace. I play a lot of shit on Steam new releases, and I can recognize half of the models in Dark and Darker from all of the other games I've played. And that's not a problem. The assets are there for a reason. Plus, it's still like in very early playtesting stages, so of course they're going to be using assets. I don't know what fucking assets they're even claiming are stolen from Nexon, unless Nexon like has some kind of monopoly on the Unreal Marketplace where it's all their assets. They're like the kingpin and their drug empire is the Unreal Marketplace. It just doesn't make any sense because, again, half, or even maybe more than half, of Dark and Darker uses just standard store-bought Unreal assets. So to me, the claim is extremely confusing. Like, I don't even feel like Phoenix Wright could make an argument that some of these assets are stolen from Nexon's unreleased P3 project, because again, so much of Dark and Darker is Unreal assets. Like, I can't imagine them being like, oh my god, that rock that's in the middle of that prison cell is actually from P3. I'd recognize it anywhere. That is a distinct rock that was developed in-house at Nexon. It's our pride and joy. Oh my god, and that chalice that players can collect, that golden goblet of fire, that was from Nexon. You've stolen it from us. Like, I don't know where there's even wiggle room for them to make claims that some of these assets were stolen, because so much is from fucking Unreal assets. But regardless, moving forward, Iron Mace developers have of course made a statement about this whole thing. They've said, to all our fans, we have recently been served a cease and desist letter and DMC takedown by Nexon regarding Dark and Darker based on distorted claims. We are currently working with our legal team to remedy this issue in the best manner possible. Due to the sensitive legal nature of this issue, we must be careful with our statements so as to not jeopardize our position. We ask for your understanding as we work to get the game back up as quickly as possible. Please know that we will do all that is possible for our fans. Thanks. A very sweet message. Throughout this entire discourse, Iron Mace has seemed extremely professional. But I just want to point that out. They have seemed like absolute sweethearts here in the face of bullshit. This, to me, I'll break this down and give my whole perspective on this after researching all of it. This, to me, feels like Nexon bullying a smaller company because they feel like they've missed out on a golden goose here, because Dark and Darker has become extremely popular, and they did have an idea that was similar to it called P3. P3 never got off the ground, Dark and Darker did. This really feels like it's almost some level of vengeance and spite against Dark and Darker's success. Nexon has hundreds and millions of dollars they can throw into the shitter at this and completely bleed Iron Mace dry, since they are a smaller company and they're going to fight this legal battle tooth and nail, it seems, which is extremely upsetting considering these claims aren't 100% proven to be accurate anyway. In fact, at least according to Police Raid, they didn't even find any evidence to support the claims, but yet they've still managed to DMCA cease and desist this game and get it removed from Steam. And now Iron Mace is going to have to engage in a lengthy and very expensive legal battle with this absolute titan of douchebaggery. Nexon is just an absolute trash company, and even if every single one of their claims is accurate, 100% truthful, they're still a horrible, garbage piece of shit company regardless. Even from everything outside of Dark and Darker, even before this, they've been a terrible company, but this especially. And I'll go a step further. Maybe we're getting into dicey, spicy territory here, but I'm just gonna say it with my whole chest. If all of Nexon's claims are accurate, Dark and Darker did take that idea from Nexon and build upon it, and even if they used a couple of assets that they developed while working at Nexon, I don't give a fuck. In fact, I view them more as heroes. I respect them more if they did that, because Nexon can suck the dirtiest part of my asshole. I cannot stand that company. I think that would be great if that really was the case. I don't think the Nexon Corporation should have the legal right to have this stranglehold on a video game idea that they didn't even make themselves. This idea was cooked up by the creative minds that were let go from Nexon in the first place. Thus, since they're no longer at Nexon, I feel they should be able to explore that idea and build upon it privately in their own way at their own studio, even though that idea was something they may have had while working elsewhere. They are no longer working there, that company is no longer working on that project, thus the team that actually made the idea and the prototypes should be able to take that work and build upon it on their own. I don't know if that's a hot take, but again, assuming every claim from Nexon is accurate, even still, it makes it clear that the idea and the work was done by employees that were let go from Nexon. Thus, it shouldn't be their idea anymore, Nexon's idea. It should be the individual's idea who actually came up with it in the first place. Thus, I feel like they should have the right to continue to work on it if they choose to. But again, it's important to reiterate that as of right now, there's still no real hard evidence against Iron Mace. Nothing that's really supporting Nexon's big claims of stolen code, stolen assets, and shit like that. So we're just gonna have to wait to see how all this unfolds, but it's really disappointing to see that Dark and Darker is no longer up on Steam, because another playtest was right around the corner that I was extremely excited for, as were a lot of people. So hopefully this situation can get resolved pretty quickly. That's about it. So yeah. Hi there. I'm about to go on a passionate, joyful rant, so please ensure that your seatbelt is buckled, because I'm about to torpedo my opinions at you like the logs out of Final Destination 1. I am so beyond disgusted and tired of modern greedy video game pricing, and the biggest proponent behind this criminal level of greed is Ubisoft. I've said for the last 3 or so years that nothing makes me lose faith in an upcoming game quicker than seeing a Ubisoft original appear in the trailer. If I was a member of their evil syndicate think tank, my #1 suggestion to the board of directors would be, hide Ubisoft as much as possible from the credits of these games so people don't know that they're behind these productions. Bury it somewhere so that way people have to go looking to unearth the truth, because no one likes Ubisoft. I'd have more optimism about an upcoming game if it said it was a Bernie Madoff masterpiece. Like, I'd trust anyone more than Ubisoft. I think they have produced almost exclusively stinkers over the last 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. Aside from, of course, Rainbow Six Siege, which I think is just an accidental hit for them. And it's an older game, it's a 9-year-old game, and I think the reason that it continues to do well is because Ubisoft forgets that they're involved with it, so they let it do its own thing. But anything Ubisoft gets its grubby little mitts in just is a disaster. Anyone remember the Avatar Legends of Pandora that came out less than a year ago? Didn't think so. And in fact, I bet you didn't even register that I got the name wrong. I double checked. It came out 6 months ago and it's actually called Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. But I imagine some of you watching this did play it and totally forgot about its existence, just like Men in Black Neuralizered out of your mind, but because it was so boring that your brain did its best to defend you from the tedium. It is just a fucking snooze fest that I guarantee you sleptwalk through. Just like mindlessly wandering around in this fugue state of this Ubisoft open world formula that they run into the ground. It's just fucking pitiful productions that they've been behind for the last 5 or 7 years. But before I get too deep into this Ubisoft hate wagon that I'm just vomiting out here, I do want to passionately be excited about something. The GamerSupps Waifu Cup with me on it, baby. The most beautiful cup you've ever seen in your life. Look at this goblet. That's me. But yeah, it's available right now at gamersupps.gg. I'll put a link to it in the description. Go ahead and pick that up right now. But the point is, Ubisoft, I don't think has made good games in a while, and I include Assassin's Creed in this. I haven't enjoyed Assassin's Creed in so long. The last good one, and this isn't a controversial opinion, was Black Flag. And I didn't enjoy Black Flag as much as everyone else, but I can recognize that it was probably the last good Assassin's Creed game. And I play all of them. I try them all. Except I only lasted 4 hours in Mirage because it was such a fucking snooze fest. And Valhalla, I think, is the only time I've ever fallen asleep on stream. They're just boring games. And this is all a long-winded precursor to what I want to talk about today, which is the newest Assassin's Creed game, Shadows, which of course Ubisoft is behind. Now there's a lot of controversy around this, a ton of drama because of the main character here, or one of the main characters. I don't give a fuck about it. I'm just going to tell you right now up top, I'm going to rip the band-aid off. I don't care. I legitimately could not care less about the historical accuracy of the Assassin's Creed franchise. That means about as much to me as the tiny hairs around my asshole. It is truly worthless to me. I wouldn't care if you played as Dabi the House Elf in the new Feudal Japan Assassin's Creed game. Doesn't matter as long as it's a good game, which I don't think that will be because I have no faith in Ubisoft and even less faith in Assassin's Creed. But what I do care about greatly is the pricing that Ubisoft is spearheading here. They just did this for Star Wars Outlaws with the $100 plus versions, and now they're doing it again for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I am so fucking tired of it. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. These are your pricing options for the different editions of Assassin's Creed Shadows. So, for the standard edition, it's $70, but you have to pre-order it if you want access to a pre-order exclusive mission. The mission's called Thrown to the Dogs, and the only way you get access to this, it seems, is if you've pre-ordered the game, which they haven't even shown any motherfucking gameplay for yet. I think that is the biggest load of barnacles ever. You're just pre-ordering based off of a cinematic trailer alone. It's a terrible, shameful thing to ask of the consumer, but that's Ubisoft in a nutshell. They're completely shameless. Moving on to the Gold Edition, you get the pre-order bonus plus a Season Pass and 3-day early access. Season Pass in a single-player game is probably one of the most embarrassing things ever that's become commonplace. If I was the goober at Ubisoft that came up with the idea of single-player Season Passes, I would never share that information with anybody ever. You wouldn't be able to torture that out of me at Guantanamo Bay. Batman couldn't beat that shit out of me. That is so fucking embarrassing. And in this case, it's especially egregious because the Season Pass for the Gold Edition includes a mission, so it's just paywalling even more content of the game behind the Season Pass and the higher price tag. And let's talk about that 3-day early access real quick, because I've seen a lot of discussion around it, and they're making great points about it. For 110 clams, you're not paying to play the game 3 days early, you're paying to play it on time. If you pay $70, you're playing the game 3 days late. So it's not early access. For 110 bones, you play the game when it comes out, and unless you fork over the additional 40, you play the game 3 days late. That's how it works. That is extraordinarily anti-consumer. Like, increasing the amount of money just to play the game when it fucking releases is absurd. And then we move on to the Ultimate Edition. For $130, you get pay-to-win elements in a single-player game. 5 skill points and then like a bunch of cosmetics. I'm gonna get a little mean here with some tough love. If you have to pay an additional $60 just for a little bonus pay-to-win in your single-player game, I think you need to take a hard look in the mirror and just recognize that maybe gaming's just not for you. Like, if that's the only way you'll enjoy the game is being able to, like, pay to win through a single-player game, I think maybe, take up a different kind of hobby. I feel like such a fucking Redditor gatekeeping gaming, but that is so unbelievably silly to pay an additional $60 for 5 skill points and then a couple of cosmetics. Like, I'm sure the cosmetics will look cool, but they're not worth almost paying the exact same price as the game itself just to get some cosmetics for it. That is a crazy thing to ask of people. Then, of course, there's the final option here, which is getting the Ultimate Edition through Ubisoft Plus, which is their own cringe subscription service for $18 a month. Because every single fucking thing on the planet has a subscription service now behind it. I bet there's going to be a subscription service for Mr. Bean, like Mr. Bean Extra On Demand Turbo Arcade, even though there's only 15 episodes of Mr. Bean that have ever aired and they're all freely accessible on YouTube right now. But I bet they'll probably come out with some kind of Mr. Bean subscription in the next few years. That's just the number one trend that every tech company follows now, and Ubisoft is of course no stranger to that. So they have Ubisoft Plus, which hopefully they have less than double digits of users signed up to that, because I don't know who in their right mind would sign up for Ubisoft Plus. But anyway, that's the other option of getting the Ultimate Edition. I hate the direction Ubisoft is trying to push AAA gaming. I hate this pricing scheme. I think it's terrible. It was bad when they did it with Star Wars Outlaws. It's bad that they're doing it with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm really hoping that it flops extraordinarily hard so that way more AAA companies don't try and emulate it. Because I have no doubt there's a lot of companies paying close attention to what Ubisoft's doing here. And if it's successful, they'll probably employ similar tactics. And that would just be bad for everybody. So I wanted to vent about this a little bit. I think it super sucks. I hate where Ubisoft is trying to take the industry. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just rant about this a little bit and get it all out of my system. I'm still going to try Assassin's Creed Shadows because I still give every single game that comes out a try for the most part to see if maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised and proven wrong. So far, the safest bet I'll ever be able to make is that the newest Assassin's Creed game is going to be boring. That's been proven true time and time and time and time and time again for me personally, but maybe Shadows is the one to break that streak. And if it does, great, but it's still not going to change the way I feel about how Ubisoft is monetizing it. I think it is horrible for the industry overall. Even if the game comes out and it's great, I still can't stand what Ubisoft has done with their monetization of these games. I think it is fucking atrocious. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. 3 days ago, I made a video talking about Nintendo being an evil, soulless corporation, as well as out-of-touch, archaic, and just downright goofy for the way that they treat online content creators like criminals. Most recently, they issued 2 strikes to a YouTuber named PointCrow because he made videos on Breath of the Wild that featured modded content. And in the eyes of Nintendo, that is a sin more unforgivable than murder. So they threw the book at him. They were coming with the meat. They tried to give him the business. They issued 2 strikes, and it wasn't just modded content they targeted, by the way. They also just targeted other videos as well on other games. A lot of it did feature mods, but some of them were just vanilla gameplay videos that they absolutely had a conniption over. Nintendo for a long time has historically shown that they hate their fans and absolutely despise when people play their games or enjoy their games in ways that they didn't plan for or in ways that they don't approve of. So for PointCrow showing mods and having fun making content around mods, they, started screaming bah humbug and shaking their fist at the clouds, and then hired their legal team of assassins to do as much damage to him as possible. And if it was up to Nintendo, they probably would have publicly hung PointCrow to make an example out of him for daring to play their games in a way they didn't intend for people to play them. Would have had him face the fucking firing squad. The reason I'm even mentioning all of this before talking about today's story is because it's only been 3 days and Nintendo has already upped the ante on how evil they can be and how unbelievably cruel they are. Like, they made, I made a claim in that video that they don't listen to the community, they don't care about, negative reputation that they have or community backlash. They don't listen to it, they just kind of brush it off like it's just, little squeaking dog toys that they can just ignore. They don't care what the people are saying. They're not listening. But now I'm almost convinced they must have heard what the community was saying about how evil they were and said, oh, you think that's bad? Well, watch this. And then they went even harder into degeneracy. So what they've done, or what was revealed to the public today, is that they have completely ruined a man's life. And I'm not exaggerating. They are putting a man in debt to them for the rest of his life. There's a guy named Gary Bowser, and I'm not making this up. This isn't an alias. His name is fucking Gary Bowser. This sounds like fanfic. This sounds like the plot to the new Mario Bros. Movie. Like, it actually sounds made up, but it's real. Gary Bowser was working with a company called Team Executor. They were a hacking group that would hack consoles for profit, and one of their biggest products was for Switch. They would basically jailbreak the Switch and they'd sell it and make money off it, and Gary Bowser was one of the prominent members of this team, allegedly. And in a couple of years ago, he got caught, and he served 40 months in jail. His time in jail is coming to a conclusion now, and he's about to be released, but he's not off the hook yet. In fact, he's on to an even deeper hook. One that is going to be a life of servitude to Nintendo, because they are coming after him for an additional $10 million plus that he will have to pay back over the course of the rest of his life. He is going to have to forfeit 25 to 30% of his income every single month to Nintendo until he can pay off his $10 million plus debt to them, because he was part of that hacking group. That is a legitimate life-ruining obligation that he will have to fulfill. Now, I want to make it clear, Gary Bowser is not a hero. He is not a saint. He was part of a group that was knowingly breaking the law for profit. He wasn't doing anything, just. He wasn't some, holy figure, breaking the rules for the benefit of everyone. They were very much in it just to make money off of all of this. He knew it was wrong, and what he's done is illegal. But I would argue spending 40 months in jail is punishment that fits the crime. I don't think they needed to add on an additional fucking generational debt that he and his grandkids wouldn't even be able to pay. Now, of course, his family's not going to be obligated to pick up the tab on the $10 million plus that he owes when he dies. But you get the point. The amount of money that Nintendo is forcing him to pay back over the course of his lifetime is one that could never be fulfilled by him and his kids working and his grandkids working and maybe even his great-grandkids working. It is an absurd punishment. Once again, I understand what he did was wrong and he's not a good guy, but this is just beyond excessive. Nintendo is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that's now face-fucking one random average guy in particular, forcing him to pay back a debt that he will never be able to repay. That $10 or $14 million means absolutely nothing to Nintendo. They wipe their ass with that amount of cash. Meanwhile, that means that Gary Bowser will never be able to live a normal life. He's going to be constantly paying this back forever. He's going to die with negative $10 million to his name. He won't even be able to afford a coffin to be buried in. It's just so far into the realm of lunacy here. And I actually imagine Nintendo celebrating this victory with handshakes all around and then laughing at the misery of Gary Bowser, who now has to send 25 to 30% of his income to this company every single month. Where once again, I imagine once they receive those checks, they throw it right in the trash can and forget about it, because that amount of money is completely meaningless to them. Anyway, the situation is wild, but this is kind of the story, the general overview of it. I went over it more on stream, so I'll just play some clips of that. You honestly couldn't have scripted a better story, but it's real. And he had been sentenced to jail. Nintendo actually pursued action against him. He had made, I think, $300K from all of his, hacking. And he spent 40 months in jail, and he just got released. And now he's going to have to pay 25 to 30% of his income every single month to Nintendo for the rest of his life. And he will still not be able to ever pay that off. So long, Gary Bowser. Pretty sure chat made that joke when we talked about him 2 years ago, too. Which is still a fire joke, by the way. So he's paid $175 of his $10 million plus debt. So he's chipping away at it. He's making progress, ever so slightly. They wanted to send a message to other Switch hackers. It was a very significant moment for us. It's the purchase of video games that sustain Nintendo and the Nintendo ecosystem, and it is the games that make the people smile. It's for that reason that we do all we can to prevent games on Nintendo systems from being stolen. Heroes. You guys are such fucking noble saints. Thank you, Nintendo. Ensure that this man will never live his life without the fear of Nintendo down his neck. And then also, while you're at it, why not strike a few more YouTubers who make videos on your games? You guys love to make people smile. The company just got a fine. They didn't like lock up and throw in the slammer every single person there. Meanwhile, Gary Bowser, he got the book thrown at him. He got the wood. It must have been something personal because his last name is literally Bowser. I have no doubt Gary Bowser got into hacking the Switch specifically because his last name's Bowser, so he's like, fuck it, I'll do it. Might as well. I'll fulfill my namesake. 100%. Successfully argued that Bowser and Team Executor had caused Nintendo to suffer $65 million in losses due to console hacking software and devices used to play pirated Nintendo Switch games. I don't recall that. 65 million from the console hacking software? I gotta be honest with you, Chief, that seems like a bunch of baloney. I don't know why the number 300k keeps popping into my head. Maybe that's what Gary Bowser personally stood to gain, or personally gained from all of this? Or maybe I'm just way off the mark, but I really thought, or I vividly remember, like a report saying he had made like 300k from it all. But who knows? That could be wrong. So, okay, so that is what he made for himself. He himself made 300k. I saw someone on Twitter say that they would honestly fake their own death in this case. Dude needs a new dust filter for his Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. Fucking true. He's gonna need a Hoover Max ASAP. Does he even have a job? Well, he's just now getting out of prison after spending 40 months there. And he had a job in prison where he paid off $75 of his debt. So I would wager a guess he doesn't currently have a job. He's probably still hunting for one. For too long, gamers' minds have been plagued by one unanswerable question. Who is the worst developer in the world? Well, rest easy tonight, my sweet children, because I will be answering this once and for all, using science, data, and my opinion, which is going to be stated as a fact. So this is your warning now. If you're allergic to the truth, you're not welcome here. But for those of you that want to have your third eye open, please, join me and sit on my lap as I give you the forbidden fruit of knowledge. Now let's tackle this riddle. The correct answer to the question, who is the worst game developer, is 343 Industries. Now before you throw your arms up in the air and start spitting and shitting in anger, let me explain. I'm only talking about AAA game devs. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of terrible indie devs that have made horrible things or have done horrible things. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm focusing on AAA big budget studios. I also want to explain that I'm only talking about the quality of the games they produce and not the actual workplace environment. Because if we were talking about that, then obviously there's been like sexual assaults and a ton of different awful things at other studios. So I just wanted to make that clear. Now let's pour some sauce on this spaghetti. I'm going to show you a quick clip from one of my recent streams where I was ranting about 343 because they recently published their roadmap for Halo Infinite, and it's laughable. For those that don't know, Halo Infinite is 343's recent release, and it has been just a complete catastrophe, just an absolute disaster. It's a good game, gameplay-wise, and the campaign's pretty fun. There's good ideas there, but unfortunately, this thing launched without any content at all. They fucking threw this thing out there naked. It was so barren when it came to content, but the community was under the impression that they would be adding content to the game as it continued to exist. But they really haven't. They've barely even been drip feeding this thing to keep it on life support. It's not enough. It's fucking flatlining. It's dying of thirst, and 343 can't even piss in its mouth. Then they've only added 2 maps in almost an entire year. This game came out November 15th of 2021, and they've only added 2 maps since then, and no other big meaningful updates. It's fucking crazy, and this is also the only Halo game that's touted as a fucking live service game, and they have no service for it. I'm already getting a little shaken and stirred here just discussing it, but anyway, They posted their roadmap. It's bad. Seeing that Halo Infinite canceled. Oh, I actually wanted to talk about that. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah, this was so embarrassing. So I talked about it on stream a little bit, but Halo Infinite posted their roadmap. They extended Season 2 to 10 months now. Forge beta is coming later this year. Co-op campaign testing later this year too. But overall, super underwhelming. A lot of people really very disappointed with 343 as per usual. But one thing they announced is that they fully canceled split screen. they said, we're done. Throwing that shit in the toilet and flushing it. No more split screen. So then on Twitter, I don't remember who it was, but one of the bigger accounts was like, actually, split screen is totally fine. In fact, we're having it working right now. And they posted a video of them glitching split screen into the game. So they were successfully able to just implement split screen themselves through a glitch. And it even works, not even just 2-player split screen, 4-player. Hold on, let me pull up the clip. So 343 apparently couldn't quite crack the code on making split screen work. Meanwhile, just fucking rock hard dicked gamers on Twitter were able to immediately figure it out only hours after their announcement through glitching. Yeah, here we go. Here, Mint Blitz even talked about it.
Quite the development has occurred. 343 has cut official Halo Infinite split screen co-op. However, with the use of a glitch, you can actually get into the
Isn't that fucking crazy?
now is a guide.
$500 million in the Halo Infinite, and 343 fumbles it extraordinarily. They didn't even launch the game with, like, any content, unfortunately. And it has been over a year, and still well, it hasn't been a full year yet, but it's coming up, and still has barely any fucking content. And now they cancel one of the most basic features that games have had for the last 25 years. Though split screen's been phased out for most major games just because they don't bother. Because most people don't do couch co-op. But it's still like a really easy feature to implement, I imagine, because it's been there for so long. And they cancel it inexplicably, I'm guessing due to ineptitude. And the community figures out a way to do it themselves. Like, how is that not super embarrassing? They have this, and then it takes them 6 months just to make 2 maps. Oh my god, yeah, made directly in Forge. Meanwhile, the community already made a 1-to-1 creation of Guardian and Reflection in less than a week. I know, man. It's so sad. I don't know what they do. Like, I don't know what they do for the last, like, 8 fucking months just sitting around doing, like, nothing. They just go to the office and, like, hang out and then go home. Content creators are giving up on Halo now. My feed is spammed by Halo is dead videos. Yeah, I mean, this was really the nail in the coffin. They absolutely needed that roadmap to bang. They needed to show that they've actually been doing things for the game for the last 8 months, and they didn't. The only thing that even has the remote possibility of bringing Halo any sort of relevancy again is their Forge mode, because their Forge mode is outrageous. Like, the amount of shit you can do in Forge is stunning. That is the only hope that game has. I really think that it's inarguable that 343 has killed the Halo franchise. It has absolutely no relevancy anymore. It has fully fallen off, which is crazy because for the entire early 2000s, all the way up until like 2012, Halo was one of the most revered, one of the most popular franchises in all of gaming. It was extremely recognizable. Even people that didn't play games at all knew Halo. It was huge. It seemed like it was an unstoppable force, and it was extremely influential for FPS games. But then the second Bungie passed the torch to 343, they put that torch right in their fucking asshole and extinguished the flame. Halo 4 launched to pretty mediocre success. I recently replayed it, and the campaign's pretty solid, but the multiplayer sucks. Halo 5 was a complete disaster, where the campaign was the worst in the entire franchise, and the multiplayer was okay. And then they also had the Master Chief Collection, which was legitimately broken for 5 years before they finally fixed it. And now Halo Infinite, and you know how that story's going. It's just sad that they've let the game wither and die like this, and the only hope it has is Forge, which does look amazing. But outside of that, there's nothing to look forward to with this game. It seems like they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what direction to go, they don't know what the players want. They even had like a big focus on their store for a little while there instead of the actual game. Now I've seen a lot of copium of just be patient, they're doing their best, you know. This is unreasonable to expect them to do so much for this game, even though it's already been out. And that's such a fucking brain dead take. This game launched in a very content dry state. They released this game half finished basically in terms of its content. They just tried to pump it out as quickly as possible and then hoping they could patch it up later and add what they wanted to initially. That's not like an excuse. It doesn't work. Like, oh, you know, just be patient, it's coming. Well, it should have been there to start. They should have had all of this already there and ready, and now are just taking their victory lap, adding more cosmetics or adding more maps, you know? Same thing Halo has always done, where they add more maps and more things down the line, but you got the complete package off rip. That wasn't the case here. We never got the complete package, and we still, 305 days later, have not gotten the complete package. So you can't really just write it off as like, hey, stop being so impatient. It's not impatience, it's just inexcusable. It's 343 not being able to follow through and deliver on the things that they said they would be able to. You know, it's a load of fish paste and super disingenuous to just blame the player base for being upset about how empty their game is. They're totally justified in feeling like their game is hollow and abandoned. 343 has been unable to communicate and deliver. At least they finally published the roadmap, but it's just not satisfactory. I saw a post on Reddit that puts it into perspective pretty well. In Halo 2's history, we're going to go back in time. Halo 2 launched. It was a great game, one of my top 5 of all time. A complete game. It wasn't missing anything or anything like that. But then 238 days later, they released the multiplayer map pack, which brought 9 new maps to the game. 238 days after the launch of Halo 2, they introduced 9 new maps with their multiplayer map pack. Halo Infinite has been out for 307 days, and they've brought 2 new maps. So it's been out longer, and they've released less maps than Halo 2, yet somehow Halo Infinite is the first live service Halo game. What a joke. It's almost like they called it that ironically, like they were just giggling behind the scenes like, well, you know, we're going to call it live service, but we're really not going to do shit on it. It's just like, you know, getting real silly with it and laughing at the community. I don't know, man. It's just so disappointing, and it's why I think 343 is the worst developer out there right now. They took what used to be a household name, Halo, and ran it into the ground. Like, they buried it. I don't know how Halo comes back from this. Forge is really its only chance, and even then, I'm not convinced people are going to flock back to Halo for Forge. But who knows? It is very impressive what it seems like they're doing with Forge, if it ever even comes out. You know, there's a good chance they might even delay it. I don't even believe their roadmap. They might just push it to 2023. There's no telling. But anyway, that's about it. See ya.